Abdulsalami Abubakar, and co-convened by, of course, Reverend Father Matthew Kuka. However, a few things very obvious there, and Mr. Adewale Adebayo, who is the presidential candidate of the SDP, pointed to that. He also doubled down on this in an interview following this particular signing, where he said that the fact that the president was absent, even though represented by the SGF, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akome, did not sends the wrong signal. And of course, you can understand that. 4 years ago, when this accord was signed, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was a candidate himself, he deemed it important enough to be there, even accompanied by President Muhammadu Buhari at the time. And so it would have made such a strong statement beyond the rhetorics, beyond the speaking about no to violence during election season. It would have been a great showing for him to have been there. Someone who was also conspicuously absent there was Waziri Atiku Abubakar. I don't know if he had a representative there, but these are the two of some of the major candidates in the elections for 2027. It would have been great to see them there. What I've seen, if you look at the trends from the APC and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's campaign, is almost a refusal to relate on the same level as the other candidates. And that's a dangerous path, because at the end of the day, he is president, but for 2027, he is a candidate, and he's selling himself to the Nigerian people alongside the other gentlemen who were there, and of course, ladies who were there. We had there Mr. Adewale Adebayo had mentioned, Mr. Peter Obi was there. We had there Mr. Donald Duke, who was a former governor in 1999, during the same time when now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was governor of Lagos State. We had Omoyele Sowore, amongst other candidates. We also had, of course, Esther Okereke, the candidates of the NPM, amongst other candidates. So it would have been great for them to have been there, because what does this mean? Should we expect a debate where we would have a level playing field for the candidates, at least the front runners, to speak to the Nigerian people? This is one of the things that we have said might be a critical success factor, judging from the Osun elections, where the Nigerian people want to hear from their candidates, want to feel like their candidate is relatable. Even though he's president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, he's still chief servant to the Nigerian people, and it is on the mandate of the people that he stands. And so that's for both of them, but definitely a good move. And most importantly, so that it doesn't just become a talk shop, I'm hoping that the candidates read the details of what they were signing and would abide, most importantly, by what they're signing, because we've seen peace accords being signed. It wasn't a peace accord signed in Osun State, and look at what happened there. Look at what transpired there. So beyond the symbolism of this signing, it should be following it to the letter and being custodians of peace in the political process. Now, let me come back to Osun State. Still very much in the news, because it's seen as like Dr. Bati would usually put, a dress rehearsal for 2027, and a number of lessons still there. This day newspaper of today, on its front page, details the winners and losers of the elections. We have talked about some of them at length. They talk about President Tinubu, who was listed as number one of the winners, and I don't think you can argue very much with it. Some people might, like I said yesterday, that we need to move on to a democracy whereby we will not be praising a president for the successful conduct of elections, because we have strong institutions. However, the reality on ground is that that's not where we are. So if we're being pragmatic, he is one of the winners of this election, because he has people have questioned whether or not he's a Democrat, as he often positions himself and how he's usually described. And the Osun State election verifies that to a certain extent. However, you cannot still ignore certain things that happened. The display of the APC during the elections, the presence of the military, the police, heavy presence. You could put that down to the heightened security situation in the state, but it was still seen as excessive federal might being put to play. In that article, they also detailed the fact that the very important and much talked about gesture by stepping in when the EFCC froze the Osun State salary account, and how that was also seen as very democratic, and so he's seen as a winner. Don't forget as well that it positions him perhaps in a better light for the people as part of a campaign strategy ahead of 2027. So Osun State, APC might have lost in Osun State in in the elections, but he might be very well losing a battle to win the war. Now, moving on, of course, I mentioned the likes of Adeleke, Davido, without a shadow of doubt. Amupiton is another name that comes up in that list. That's Professor Josh Amupiton, or the INEC chairman. That INEC was able to a very large extent, demonstrate that they can prosecute or conduct free and fair elections to an extent. However, I'll still put INEC under losers, maybe not Professor Amupiton, because of the beavers and how beavers failed in certain areas, because of the glitch that happened with IREV at some point during the elections. Other names I think should have gone under the winners. It would be the people of Osun State. I'm surprised that they were not listed in that, put in that list. The people of Osun State and the people of Nigeria as a whole. It seemed like as the opposition party had a psychological boost, the Nigerian people themselves would have had a psychological boost that, okay, maybe we can trust the electoral process in Nigeria. Let's give it a chance in 2027. Let us come out to vote for our preferred candidates, and that might very well count in the next election. Security agents as well, I think, notable mention for winners in this election. Now, just one or two things to add to losers, and I'll end here. Losers, I also felt that the EFCC also have been on that list. People have criticized them for the level of vote buying that happened, and nothing seemed to have come in the area of sanctions or anyone being apprehended. And then Wike saying that he's the game changer of Nigerian elections. That was quite an interesting point. But Rufai, let's take your take on these stories.
Okay, a couple of things. As regards signing of presidential peace accord, anybody, I repeat, that doesn't deem it fit to appear to sign peace accord does not take Nigeria serious enough. You see, this thing I've just said is a clear categorical statement. A lot of people will defend, they will push things around, they will say, no, you don't know what you are saying. But in years to come, you will see that I'm right. Anybody, I repeat, that doesn't deem it fit to go there when his colleagues are signing peace accord will not take Nigerians seriously. Let me tell you their defense, because me, I think for both sides. The first defense, they will say, he doesn't really need to come. He might have been busy with state matters, but he sent a strong person there, sent the Secretary of State government there. What is your own, Rufai and everything? He doesn't need to come. In fact, the next argument they will make is that, he will sign the final one. No worries. This is not only going to be the peace accord. There's going to be another major final one and all of that. He will sign that one and everything. But I have said what I said. Anybody that doesn't deem it fit, be it the first one or the second one, or any of the peace accords, to come and sign, then they are not ready. But let's even go straight into the peace accord. It's a good novelty. It's not a novelty. We've been doing it for quite some time in our election now, but it's a good addition to our election calendar. Because at least people get to sign what they will not do. But at least it still holds them morally in check. Because most of them that are signing it, they will still go back and bait on the lines of religious. They will still go back and bait on the lines of ethnic sentiments. I mean, the other day, Ginger said what he said. Apart from few people, as the presidency officially released a statement condemning Ginger, Sheikh Ginger.
No, not to the best of
But people in the presidency were quick to attack Cardinal Onayeka, isn't it? So we know where the slant is. So despite the fact they said it, because you see, they don't have ideas to win election. It is always going to be sentiment across religion, race, and all of that. It is never about moving Nigeria forward. Nigerians, you better shine your eye. There are over 100 million on the voters register. If at least 60 to 70 million of you don't come out to vote, you are not ready to make your country better. So don't complain if your country derails. You have no right to complain because this is your part you are playing there. So if things are as easy as a peace accord, people are not there, whatever reason they are going to give, the optics just shows that they will not take you seriously. I'm waiting for the defense because a lot of people are going to mount in defense. For me, I don't care. I speak my truth, and the truth is timeless. It's timeless. Secondly, as regards the winners and losers, they put President Tinubu there. I will not put President Tinubu there. Have they paid Osun local government money till now? Have they sorted out Osun local government money till now? Dr. Abati, you are more vast in. Have you sorted out Osun local government money till now? Okay, very good. You don't know that was part of the election strategy. That was part of federal might they started using in advance to cripple the local government structure so that their own loyalists will have the upper hand. These days saying that because President Tinubu reversed the EFCC freeze. Yeah. Do you know an investigation revealed that it was even more than one account they froze? I think some of the newspaper carried it. After public cry, that was when President Tinubu reversed it. Anyway, he reversed it. After public cry. Then they didn't stop there. They said because he called Adeleke. President Tinubu only called Adeleke when federal might failed. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. We deceive ourselves too much. You see, you know Davido is not a politician, so he say it elaborately. You heard all the things he said yesterday. You heard the number of people that were calling him in the corner to take down his tweets. That's why part of the winners, I will add Davido and his tweets. Davido's tweets. In fact, part of the winner is Twitter, X platform. If I'm going to write that list, I will put Twitter, the social media X, as part of the winners. Because if X didn't give Davido a platform to in real time ventilate, if it was back in the days, I mean, you couldn't have done such a thing and keep people in check now. Because you have to go to a newspaper editor, grant an interview, before they will print the newspaper and everything. So I will add X, I will add technology as part of the winners. You saw how many people he was saying was calling him at the back, yeah, bring down your tweets now. He said, no, I'm not going to bring down my tweets. I'm not going to bring down my tweets. It's my uncle we are talking about. Family ties are more than anything. Then he also made allegations about the billions they spent. If there was no federal might, was that money for free? Was it to come and do King? Or they wanted to do empowerment program in Osun State. So it's election day, they want to do empowerment program. Over 100 billion, Davido said. He said he got the new information. His father was saying how much is this something billion. He said, no, they got an updated information. So you
yet to be
verified anyway, because they have a right of reply. They will say their own part. But you think it was play. But at least the people verified that they were sharing 15,000 now. So the people that were in the polling unit that were saying, Oju to 50,000. So if they didn't see that they were sharing 50,000, would they be saying that they were sharing 50,000? Did they think Oju to win the last election like that? So federal might, in fact, if I want to broadly categorize it, the winner is Osun people. It's not even about Adeleke. Yeah. Adeleke was just a symbol. The broad winner is Osun people. The loser is federal might. That's true. If I'm going to have two big categories. And please, Nigerians, if you think delusionally that what happened in Osun, it will be that easy in 2027, don't delude yourself. Because people will go back to the drawing board and perfect ways. As regards what Wike said, yeah. But he has not said what he cannot do. Has he not done it constantly? Didn't you see the BBC report about Rivers presidential election 2023?
How? It's a how.
He will do it.
All right.
So maybe he knows how to engineer better than the ones that they send. So that's why he's saying, even if when he's saying he doesn't even care about anti-party activity for him, doesn't even care about anti-party. So maybe President Tinubu needed to go and learn machinery from...
So it's more politically sagacious.
Now, Starboy, Wiki. Wiki Babao.
Okay, let me start with President Goodluck Jonathan and what he said, the word of caution that he contributed to this conversation, which is to say that this growing practice of political figures, senior government officials, members of the ruling party, storming anywhere an election was taking place, like off cycle, as we saw in Ekiti. And we have just seen in Osun. He says it is unhealthy for democracy, that the objective should be free, fair, democratic participation for the people. And that when you have senior government officials and you have major public figures who are in office storming the place, that what that creates is that it limits the scope for free participation, because it gives the impression of federal might, as we all know. It also gives the impression of intimidation, harassment, and an attempt also to frighten the people, to impose a climate of fear. And I think that it's a growing practice that should be discouraged. Now, he then cited the example of when he was in government. In 2013, in Anambra State, in 2014, in Ekiti State, he said when word came to him that senior government officials, members of the ruling party had relocated to those two states, he said in both instances, he quickly gave the order that those people should leave immediately, allow the electorate and the institutions to do their work. And I hope that that is a very informed advice, for a man who has been through that process before, who has been leader of this country and who knows where all the corpses and ghosts are buried. And I hope that the professional political class will try to learn from that voice of reason going forward. That's that about that. And that takes me immediately to the National Peace Committee. Actually, that National Peace Committee was established when this same President, Goodluck Jonathan, was president. And that was ahead of the 2015 general elections, in the lead up to which certain political figures, certain prominent figures in this country, some of them, many of them, still active players on the scene, were threatening that if PDP should win that election, that Nigeria will burn. And there were security reports that, in fact, some people were already acquiring dangerous weapons, that if the election was announced and President Jonathan was announced as the winner, that there will be bloodshed in the country. It was within that context that we put out a statement by President Jonathan. He's saying that his ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. He made that statement long before the election because the environment was becoming, anything goes. And I guess that's why President Jonathan put in his own comment that, look, this idea that politics should be do or die, nobody should entertain that. So that message, relevant in 2014, is also relevant in 2026. Now, this National Peace Committee was set up ahead of that 2015 election, where men of wisdom came together and said, we cannot allow this country to drift. You have General Abubakar, who was the chairman. You have Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka, who was the secretary. The others there were Atiku Dangote, the Sultan of Sokoto, Jean Cardinal Onayekan, Dame Priscilla Kuye, Justice Roslyn Ukeje, I recall, was part of that team. Professor Gobadia was also part of it. Uncle Sam Amuka Pemo was also part of that team. So these prominent Nigerians came together and said, we cannot allow this to happen. And we had the first peace accord in 2015 ahead. And so it's a special tribute to all these personalities, that the vision that they had, that justice, equity, free choice, meritocracy. I think they also talked about meritocracy in some of the values that the National Peace Committee opposed. To see that the tradition has been sustained is a way of saluting their vision and their commitment as leaders and statesmen. So now, this time around, ahead of the 2015 election, they've also intervened early enough to say that all the presidential candidates should sign the peace accord. Well, those who were not there sent representatives. I've been told that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu sent the secretary to the government of the Federation. The whole idea is that all the various parties have committed that there will be peace. It now remains for them, not just to sign symbolically, but to live up to that particular promise. And that's what we expect. And in fact, if that election is free, fair, and peaceful, it will be to the glory of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who will be able to say hereafter that as president of Nigeria, he presided over free and fair elections. And he might as well also cite Osun, where you have an opposition party as incumbent, and everything went peacefully. And I think that that's the major accent, not just in President Jonathan's comment, or the insistence of the peace committee that peace should be maintained, but also in the review done by this day newspaper this morning, talking about winners and losers. Well, you may not agree with all the details there, but I think it's, the assessment is fair enough in terms of the choice of the winners. But in describing the losers, I disagree with one or two. Well, let me still talk about the winners. Davido. Yes, Davido, Adeleke family. I think every family needs a son like that, who can stand up for family and stand up for every member and project that family and can be seen physically and in terms of his profession upholding a family legacy that is now, I think, in the third or the fourth generation. Now, he was the leader of the youth wing of the Imole Campaign Council, and he was responsible for mobilizing youths. But he not only mobilized the youths, he also mobilized Nigerians and even the international community to draw attention to the all-important election in Osun State. Yesterday, he gave a press conference. He addressed the youths, thanked them and all that. The only thing I would like to say to Davido is that I saw a video where some youths in Osun were going up and down the streets of Osun. And in fact, they went to the house of the APC woman leader, where they were singing the derisive song, Kule Bosode, Alakori Tilekumori, Kule Bosode. Since these people belong to the Davido's constituency, you should find a way of telling them to calm down. The election has been won and lost. Nobody should be harassed after the election. Everybody should exhibit the spirit of sportsmanship. In terms of the losers that this day talked about, yes, those persons who stormed Osun State. I used to put the number at 22 governors and senators. Apparently, they were more than that. They were close to 80. I saw another report that said 22 governors and 57 lawmakers, either senators or members of the House of Reps, almost about 80 people. And they didn't go alone. They went with their aides. They went with their hype men, like that character from Benin, who was talking like he was in a drunken state. That is one hype man saying, Atiku has arrived. What was it? Did he say again? Adeleke should leave town now. And we will kick Adeleke out. Somebody who is completely of no relevance to Osun politics, and I was commented on the guy. Such people do not have any role in the matter because this is part of the intimidation that President Jonathan was talking about. So I agree with this day that all those people that went there, they are losers. What difference did they make at the end of the day, other than going to foul up the environment and further intimidate the people of Osun State? I also agree that Senator Mishori from Ife is also, a winner of sorts in this particular matter, because you recall that he wanted to be the gubernatorial candidate of the APC, but he was not allowed. He was shunted aside. So he endorsed the APC candidate, but obviously the way Accord won convincingly in his polling unit, it was very obvious that he didn't lift a finger to help the APC candidate, which is some kind of lesson in political calculations. There was a question mark about whether former Governor Rauf Adregbesola was a winner or a loser. I think in a sense, well, there's some symbolic victory for former Minister Rauf Adregbesola. He was governor 2010 to 2018. He had very strong, footing in that place, but he fell out with the APC. So he didn't need to help the APC, and he wouldn't have wanted the APC to win, because that would have meant that Oyetola and others would deal with him. So he survived. But his
party lost very significantly.
No, it didn't matter. He would have known that ADC could not just come and take Osun like that. But he didn't allow APC also to win. Maybe he will come out and say, no, he had no hand in it. But I don't think he worked too actively to remove the Accord Party. So, but there will be further reviews, as people will give their own perspectives. So let's leave it there for now.
It was a very interesting. I think everyone, if you can, it's more detailed and has all the list of the winners and losers. Let's see if you agree or perhaps would like to add or take out some names from that list. Let's take a short break now. When we return, we shall be talking to Professor Ken Ife, an economist. Stay with us.
A packaged goods company just lost 5 billion naira they imported in dollars, paid obligations in naira, and sold on 60-day credit terms. By payment date, their margins had evaporated. Currency volatility is not a risk for FMCG. It is the business environment. Input costs have risen 25%. Consumers absorb 12% before switching. That 13% gap is where companies die. At Fidelity Corporate Bank, we defend margins. Forward FX contracts lock dollar costs today. We don't just finance FMCG. We defend margins. We keep you in business. Speak to us today.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
You think it's AI? No, it's not. Every great lifestyle begins with one great decision.
That decision lives here. Michelle Hutu Exclusive.
A place where every day feels like a getaway, where families create lasting memories, laughter fills open spaces, and every weekend brings something to look forward to. Because the best investment you can make is the investment you can truly live in. Live the exclusive way of life. Call today and make Michelle Hutu Exclusive your new address.
Hey, honey, we missed you.
Grandma misses you too.
Home is in the moments we share.
You have a great idea.
With a blend of selected herbs and spices, Onga brings home even more taste and aroma to your favorite dishes.
Great.
Shared moments deserve great tasting meals made with the improved Onga cubes. Enjoy the taste of home with Onga chicken and beef flavor.
The Presidential Working Group has commenced work on the National Policing Bill, meant to translate the constitutional amendment establishing a dual police structure into a final implementation-ready draft National Policing Bill. Please be informed that the deadline for the submission of the memoranda and position papers has been extended to the 21st of August 2026 at 5 p.m. The extension is intended to ensure all stakeholders have the opportunity to present their inputs. For inquiries and further information, visit nationalpolicingbill.com or send an email to submissions@nationalpolicingbill.com. Note, the deadline is the 21st of August 2026 at 5 p.m. Help shape a national policing bill that strengthens security, accountability, and justice for all. The National Policing Bill, your voice, Nigeria's future.
And the winner of the Ugeli Scholarship to Cairo is Bomboy of Boki.
It means say Mama no dey give up on pikin, no matter how we hard reach.
Mama Bomboy, your pikin dey call o. Yare yare.
Hello.
And in Cairo, unrest has continued for a 5th day in a row.
MTN, the better connection.
I'll make it.
Hello?
Bomboy. Mavo,
I miss you. Oh, yo, Majo. Hello? When you come back house?
Mama, I got a job in Canada.
Happy birthday, oh, Momena.
Marlins, we don't go, no.
Thank God, oh. I know.
Hello?
Malice, go outside.
Good job in Lagos.
25 years of connecting generations to life's possibilities. Cheers to the next.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Over 20 companies have emerged as the most valuable stocks on the Nigerian Exchange Limited year to year as of August 17, 2026, collectively accounting for 74.8% of the total market capitalization of the equities market. The companies, drawn largely from the banking, consumer goods, and industrial goods and energy sectors, have a combined market capitalization of 117.01 trillion naira, underscoring the high concentration of value among a relatively small number of companies on the stock exchange. Joining us on this show to discuss the concentration of more than 70% of market capitalization in these companies and the Nigerian equities market is Professor Ken Ife, an economist. He will also discuss Nigeria's headline inflation rate, which stood at 15.43% in July 2026, according to the latest figures from the National Bureau of Statistics. Good morning, Prof, and good to have you on the program.
Good morning, Dr. Ruben, and good morning, Ayo, and I think Rufai as well.
Good morning, Prof. Morning, sir.
Rufai on fire.
Morning. Morning, sir.
Okay, Prof.
Morning, my brother.
Yes, well, recently we had this report about 10 companies generating almost about 70% of the good news.
70%, yes.
On the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And those companies are Arade Holdings, MTN, Dangote, Nestle, Bua Foods. Those companies. Is it a good thing or a bad thing that that is the case? Because government was celebrating that because it meant also more revenue for government, as it meant increased business investor confidence in the economy. It also meant more opportunities within the investment environment. Is this sustainable, particularly now that we're even hearing that some other big ticket companies are going to the stock market? Quickly, even tax generation. The Nigerian Revenue Service was saying that within the first 8 months, they were able to generate over 27 trillion in terms of increased revenue. And then this inflation figure that we discussed on this program yesterday, headline inflation moderating from 15.91% in June and going down to maybe 15.4 by July. Meanwhile, food prices have gone up. Food inflation is much higher than previously. And the question is, okay, if you say that inflation is moderating, as you say, every other thing is moderating. How about the people? How would they feel it if they are spending more just to even feed basic necessity of life? Those two preliminary questions.
All right, let's start. Yeah, the inflation is a much more controversial story, but let's start with the capital market. I think we have to congratulate the NGX because they've done well, and to even rake in the #1 in the world in what they've done. But there are systemic risks that we have to consider. And there's also macroeconomic misalignment that we need to consider as well. But to enable us come down to these comparisons, I just picked up 2 peer economies, the JSC, the South African Exchange, and then Egypt. EGX, just to be able to get a feel. If you look at both of those three, our market cap is around $33 billion dollars to $69 billion. Well, call it 33 billion then, because that represents about 10 to 15% of our GDP. Whereas for JSC is about 1.4 to 1.5 trillion dollars. And for Egypt is 40 to 89 billion, $68 billion. But there are more things. If you look at the cap as a proportion of GDP, you'll find that our own is about 10 to 15% of our GDP. Whereas for South Africa is 80 to 100%. That shows it's deep, really deep. And also for Nigeria, it shows it's very, very low. Then for Egypt is still around 15 to 20%. It's still low. But there are more characteristics that actually make a huge difference. The number of companies that are listed in the Nigerian stock market is about 148 to 150, call it 150. For South Africa, it's about 200 to 430. For Egypt, there are actually 100 more companies than us. It's about 250 companies. So, but then what is much more distinct is what is the type of concentration. Our own is domestic conglomerates in Nigeria. But for South Africa, it's international conglomerates. And they are active in the mining area, in the tech area. And, you know, but if you go to Egypt, it's actually the SOEs, the state-owned enterprises, preponderance. And of course, they also have their banks in there. Now, the top tier, you've already mentioned the top tier companies, 5 to 10. You've already mentioned them for Nigeria. For South Africa, it's NASPA and Prosus and the gold mining and all those. So those, especially in the mining sector. But then for Egypt, it's state-owned enterprises. Now, the challenge that we have is that when you have the preponderance of your stock market being the top heavy with these companies, then first of all, they don't reflect the GDP of our country. It's only about 10 to 15% of the sectors that are actually being represented. So that means that we have to look at how we could incentivize people like the PENCOM to come in and distribute their investment into the top tier and mid tier and be more representative. But you have to incentivize them to do that. We also looked at it when I was in the committee at SEC, where we are designing the Nigerian, there's this bond that we designed there. I did the mathematics on the distribution, and I was looking at how we could use that to spread it across the sectors so that they all get a few share. It's something like if you are raising a bond and you are looking at how you are going to distribute. It's about making sure that every part of your economy is given an opportunity. And there's a big systemic risk there too, that if you have any attack on the sector that are being represented, look at what happened in 2008 when we have American subprime mortgage crisis. The banks went for a meltdown. Our banks were under attack. So Sanusi had to create AMCON and release 6 trillion naira for them to restore them. Otherwise, we would have been in serious trouble. So that over-concentration could cause problem. And then you can actually force people to start exiting our market simply because of that fear of contagion. But if you are balanced, then you have a better chance of dealing with this. So that's part of the challenge. But there's also one issue too, because if you look at those domestic conglomerates, it's only a small proportion of their shares that they bring out to the market. Yeah, foreign portfolio investment go for those. Now, what happens? Then one thing could trigger their exit. And secondly, in terms of valuation of shares, you don't get a good view of the valuation because it is top heavy and it's concentrated and there's only a small proportion of their distance. So you've always got that challenge. So there are quite some things that bother me on the macroeconomic front that we need to make sure we incentivize investment to move across the sector. So those are some of my views on this.
So now let's come to the NBS.
Then if you want me to come to
yes, let's come to
inflation,
the NBS statistics.
There's
the glaring divergence between the cooling headline inflation and the lack of it translating to real gains in the pockets of Nigerians based on rising food prices. How can you explain that divergence?
Yeah.
What is the response? What's responsible for this? And how can we move from macroeconomic wins to micro wins?
It's a paradox of conflicting dual narratives. On one point, you see what appears to be an increase, a decrease in inflation figure. But on the other hand, you see chaos in its raw form. Let's look at the figures. The inflation says 15.43, which is barely 1.57% on month compared to what it was the previous month in June. Now, if you look at what actually gave you that small decrease, what gave it to you was energy. The energy sub-index was actually disinflation in the energy sub-index because it came down to about 2 points, came down by 2.3%. And which ones are we talking about? There hasn't been a rise in the electricity. Then there was a flip-flop in the area of energy petrol price in that particular month. So you could see it was up, it's down. So you saw some kind of disinflation. But that is just part of the story. You just have to move to food to see what is going on. You come to food, the food inflation comes in on average at 20.31. But look at variabilities in states. You go to Adamawa. Adamawa is coming in on food inflation at about 33%. That is 100% increase on inflation, Adamawa State. But that is not where the shock lies. The shock lies on when you look at the food. The headline on Adamawa is 100%. That is 33%. But the food is 150% because the food is coming at 51%. So that is crisis. And I can't see that what the state is doing. And I don't even understand where it leaves us with our emergency, state of emergency on food insecurity. If we can have this pronounced disparity in states. And I was looking for Frank was yesterday. Your man was in Atiku market, and I was just telling him this morning, what are you doing there? You should be in Adamawa to tell us, go and unpack what the hell is going on there. Of course, I know that there could be, Cameroon has been warning about releasing water from their dam. So, and they are on River Benue. So it's possible that flooding has started. So that will hit the food immediately. And then also, that transportation costs. And in fact, there's something. When I looked at core inflation, which is about 15, core inflation is 14.9. And then I looked at, when you look at core inflation, there are two components of core inflation. You have first of all, it excludes all the volatile items, but it still has imported food index, the imported processed food inside it. So I looked at the core inflation, and then I looked at urban inflation, which is on 16, and the rural inflation is 13.7. Now, there is a gap between the two. That shows you effect of transportation and logistics costs when you are moving from rural to urban area. But if you look at the core again, the core tells you another story, because when you compare the food inflation, because food and energy are on the same volatile list. So energy we have removed because energy went down a bit. But if you look at the food, the increase in food price is about 5.6. But if you disaggregate the food into farm produce, that is a farm produce, and then also imported refined food. Now, that shows you a big difference, because that farm gate is 4.6, whereas the overall food is 5.6, which means that the imported food, imported processed food brought with it imported inflation. You can understand that by supply chain disruption, what is going on in the Middle East, increase in freight charges, increase in insurance. So you can see where that is coming in. And that also enters into the cost. So, it's not a good story, honestly. When you look at, it's not just Adamawa, but also you have Anambra, you have Yobe. They're all also involved in extremely high food prices. Yeah.
It's a pervasive story, and we've been telling the story, but it looks like nobody's listening. The first palliative we threw into this story was to be able to, put like an import moratorium where we imported food. But that was supposed to be a segue back to productivity and production. But we've not done that. I mean, the president announced the other day that they bought in tractors. Can you tell us the state of those tractors? They're giving it out. What has been the productivity? What has been the productive output of food? Then secondly, if the government keeps saying that, they are doing roads and everything, what has been the logistical interplay of all of this food? And also factor into your analysis the effect of post-harvest losses that has also skyrocketed because of insecurity and because of attendant logistical interplay.
Yeah, you see, you're right. You've actually pressed the buttons. First of all, the cheapest cost of transporting goods across long distances is rail line. We know that very well. In fact, it was the rail, the last investment in rail was in 1927. So, the last real investment in rail, National Rail Network. And if you notice that almost all the state capitals and all the things were all rail stations. And when these rail stations cut off, when the rail stopped, Nigeria started to split into everybody going to their share. So we need to have this rail, the Eastern Rail, the Lagos, you need to get that because that is what makes food cheap. That is what delivers food. They leave early in the morning, they come in the night, they are there where they're supposed to be. In the absence of that, we're going to continue to have transportation continue to drive rises in the price of food. You can't do more. And then, of course, the transportation is also dependent on the diesel, which price has been regulated. There's liberalized, so it's very, very high anyway. So it's not, and the plane cannot do it. You can't even use plane to do this. So, and then we have our inland revenue, our inland waterways have not been developed to be able to use barges to move food stuff. And then, of course, that also means high food losses. Now, let me give you an example of food losses. If you want to produce high quality cassava flour or any of the derivatives, you have to process the cassava within 24 hours. Otherwise, forget it. It will now go to stay 3 days after grating, and then you have the fermentation, and then you can produce gari and pufu. But for high-end products, you got to do it within 24 hours. Then you come to oil palm. If you don't process oil palm within 24 hours, you have free fatty acids run high, and then the quality is compromised. So there are all these things. We know whole post-harvest loss is 40 to 70%. But nothing in what we are seeing now is actually addressing post-harvest loss. We have strategic reserves that are meant to, first of all, dry the product before you actually send it into the reserves. But they're empty. A lot of them are empty.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. I hope that we keep talking about the challenges and how these challenges can be sorted, how we can help to drive down prices of food. Unfortunately, we haven't, like you said, seen any appreciable efforts in that area. We look forward to that so that Nigerian people can feel these wins that are celebrated at macroeconomic levels. Thank you so much for your time with us. It's time now for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll have Vimbai Mutinhiri Ekpeyong join us for World Brief and to review top stories in today's newspapers. Stay with us.
Hey, I catch you. I find out what you do. I just download Glow Cafe app.
Waiting now on it.
It they do everything.
You check balance.
Yeah, did that one.
Special offer.
Plenty.
Aha, you get that one.
It dark pass coffee.
You get security.
Double verification.
It pay bills.
100.
Music unko.
You go turn DJ.
Video games.
No darling.
Baba, come. You get movies.
You get Glow TV. Delete yourself.
I bet we'll be that one.
Gloria, she be AI and she speak different language.
A bit kissy. Album AI. I bet you see me cook.
I just ordered pizza from Glow Cafe app.
Oh, Mado.
Blue Cafe, 100 gigabytes free. Oh, guys.
Download the brand new Glow Cafe app with AI the power. Welcome to everything.
Excuse me, ma. This is your 100% online hair.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair? Since your landlord just increased rates, I saved for this one separately on Money Point.
Ma, you say you save on Money Points?
Yes.
This Madam Money Points here, the array of hair dryer there is target savings Money Points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub is fees savings Money Points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact.
Jennifer, Money Point save as you transact. Money Point fixed savings and Money Point target savings.
Why did I don't contribute to it? Why should I? Come on, oh, you go give your money to Atiku to save. You see Money Point account there. You know, go open a savings account. Now Atiku you shoot. I beg everybody inside this my salon. Oh, yeah, bring out your phone and download the Money Point app now. Even you. What are you waiting for?
Download the Money Point banking app now and start saving with the bank you can trust.
Money Point, made for your progress. Polo, the reward of success.
A great nation is built from the ground up by hardworking people who just need the right support to shine. We pray for a better tomorrow, but it starts here. A classroom with better learning spaces and materials, where children gain the confidence to lead. We're bringing quality healthcare closer so families receive the care they deserve. Water is life, and with safe water supply and solar energy powering districts, we restore health and fuel local businesses. But for our youth, the talent has always been there, but talent needs opportunity. By equipping them with real-world skills, protecting our borders also means safeguarding the land within them. Look beyond the uniform. These are fellow Nigerians serving their people with purpose. That is what Customs Cares is all about. A series of intentional projects all coming together to bring real change. Because when you uplift the people, the whole of the country moves forward. Customs Cares, empowering communities, transforming lives.
Kwamitin aiki ta shugaban kasa kan dokar kula da ayyukan 'yan sanda ta kasa ta fara aiki kan kudirin dokar 'yan sanda ta kasa National Policing Bill wanda aka tsara domin mayar da gyaran kundin tsarin mulki da ya kafa tsarin 'yan sanda mai matakai biyu zuwa cikakken daftarin kudirin dokar 'yan sanda ta kasa wanda yake a shirye don aiwatarwa. Muna sanar da ku cewa an ƙara wa'adin ƙarshe na gabatar da shawarwari da takaddun matsaya zuwa 21 ga watan Agusta shekara 2026 da karfe 5 na yamma. An ƙara wa'adin ne domin tabbatar da cewa dukkan masu ruwa da tsaki sun samu damar gabatar da shawarwari da ra'ayoyinsu. Don ƙarin bayani da tambayoyi, ziyarci nationalpolicingbill.com ko aiki sakon email zuwa submissions@nationalpolicingbill.com. Kar a manta, wa'adin ƙarshe shine 21 ga watan Agusta shekara 2026 da karfe 5 na yamma. Ku taimaka wajen tsara kudirin dokan 'yan sanda ta ƙasa wanda zai karfafa tsaro, riƙon amana da adalci ga kowa. Kudirin dokar 'yan sanda ta ƙasa, muryar ku, makomar Nigeria.
And the winner of the Ugeli Scholarship to Cairo is Bomboy of Bucky.
Give up on picking, no matter how we hard reach.
Mama Bomboy, your picking they call Yare Yare.
Hello?
And in Cairo, unrest has continued for a 5th day in a row.
MTN, the better connection.
Only here. Hello? Babo, I miss you. Oh, yo, Majo. Hello? When you come back house?
Mama, I got a job in Canada.
Happy birthday, oh, Momena.
Marlins, we don't ball
Hello?
Malice, go outside.
Good job in Lagos. 25 years of connecting generations to life's possibilities. Cheers to the next.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Cape Town is facing renewed concern over violent crime after a series of deadly shootings across communities on the Cape Flats. 11 people were killed in 3 separate mass shootings in Langa, Guguletu, and Kielisha earlier this month, as authorities struggle to contain persistent gun and gang violence despite the deployment of the military. But crime is only one of the pressures fueling wider tensions in South Africa. High unemployment, inequality, and concerns over undocumented migration have also contributed to growing anti-foreigner sentiment, with an anti-migrant group now giving undocumented foreign nationals until September the 30th to leave the country. Arise international correspondent Adefemi Akinsanya sends in this report from Cape Town.
Cape Town boasts beautiful views, from mountains to city life and vast ocean. It's one of Africa's most visited cities, but it's also one of its most violent. In the Cape Flats, gang rivalries continue to drive a cycle of shootings, retaliation, and fear that has left entire communities living under lockdown conditions of their own. Police say hundreds of people are killed in gang-related violence here every year, as turf wars over drugs and territory continue to escalate. For many residents, the violence has become part of daily life, shaping where they go, when they move, and how safe they feel in their own neighborhoods. But beyond the gang crisis, another fault line is increasingly visible in South Africa's social fabric: tensions over migration. In Durban this week, members of the anti-immigrant group March and March took to the streets outside a regional SADC summit, demanding that undocumented foreign nationals leave the country. The group says it set a September 30th deadline for what it calls the removal of illegal migrants. Human rights organizations warn that migrants are increasingly being scapegoated for deeper structural problems, including unemployment, inequality, and strained public services. South Africa's official jobless rate stands at 32.7%, with youth unemployment above 60%, among the highest in the world. Authorities have repeatedly condemned attacks on foreign nationals. They're also calling on law enforcement to address both illegal migration and violent crime without targeting communities. President Cyril Ramaphosa has called for calm, as well as a coordinated regional approach to migration. He says the pressures driving movement across borders are not unique to South Africa.
From here in Cape Town, the contrast is stark. A global city pumping with tourism and investment, but also it's set against the backdrop of growing crime and uncertainty, socio-economic tensions spilling out into the streets, many migrants scapegoated as many look for conducive ways to develop within this country. That being said, the pressure remains on the South African government to do the needful to address the concerns of the people so that all remain safe. Adefemi Akinsanya, Arise News, Cape Town.
Adefemi Akinsanya there. And now joining us for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Vimbai Muchihiri Ekpenyang. Good morning, Vimbai.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufy, my freedom fighter.
Yes.
Aluta.
Aluta continua.
Aluta
Victoria Sata.
Victoria Sata. If you ever need to go to war, it's Rufai you need to take with you. All right. Well, fantastic report from Adefemi, who is absolutely glowing in Cape Town, and of course gives us a live account of some of the tensions and pressures in South Africa at the moment. So thank you so much, Adefemi. I'm sure she'll be back on duty very soon. But without further ado, let's get straight into some of the happenings all around the world. We begin with the United States that has unveiled new sanctions against the president of the International Criminal Court, Japanese Tomoko Akane, and a prosecutor, Abdoulaye Seye of Senegal, tasked with investigating crimes committed by Israel during its war on Gaza. Now, whilst revealing this new action through a statement, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio described the Hague-based ICC as a corrupt and fatally politicized supranational court that has maliciously abused its authority and exceeded its mandate. However, the two who have been isolated for sanctions are said to have directly engaged in efforts by the ICC to investigate, arrest, detain, or prosecute officials whose government has not consented to ICC jurisdiction. Well, Rubio did not say specifically which efforts the two ICC officials had engaged in, but Israeli media have reported that Seye, who is the Senegalese, is also overseeing the investigation into Israeli funding for illegal settlements and the distribution of weapons to settlers in the West Bank. Well, Seye, the Senegalese prosecutor, is also a candidate for the position of judge of the ICC. So certainly not the greatest timing for him to be embroiled in this. But let's just take a look at the numbers. There are currently just 125 countries that are signatories to the Rome Statute, which compels nations to fall under the ICC jurisdiction. And of course, neither the United States nor Israel are party to it. This is just a quick snapshot of some of the countries involved. Green are those who are signatories, and countries like the United States were signatories and withdrew. And then, of course, you have countries that have never been signatories to it. So you see that, there's a lot of global north concentration trickling around Africa, South America, but several countries still don't fall under the jurisdiction. So now there's the legal discussion about whether countries that are not signatories should be tried, in essence, in the International Criminal Court. Well, let's move on to issues in Ukraine, where former Ukrainian Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov has come out to say that democracy cannot be held hostage by Russia in a new statement where he has called for immediate presidential elections to be held in Ukraine. Now, Fedorov's sudden dismissal after reports of tension with the commander-in-chief Alexander Syrsky in mid-July sparked protests across the war-torn Eastern European nation. Ukraine has been under martial law since the war broke out in February 2022. However, if the nation had not been under martial law, a presidential election was supposed to have been held over 2 years ago in March 2024. Well, here is what the former minister Fedorov had to say.
Як має функціонувати держава, якщо війна триває роками? І наступне, якщо війна триватиме ще рік, 2, 3, чи може Росія фактично отримати право визначати, коли українці знову зможуть обирати свою владу? Я переконаний, що ні. Демократія не може бути заручницею Росії. Ми воюємо саме тому, що хочемо залишитися вільною європейською державою. Тому ми повинні знайти законний, безпечний і реалістичний механізм, який дозволить Україні відновити повноцінний демократичний процес навіть за умов тривалої війни. Це складно. Потрібно забезпечити право голосу військових, мільйонів українців за кордоном, людей прифронтових регіонів. Потрібно забезпечити безпеку виборчого процесу, незалежність інституцій і довіру до результату. Але складність не означає неможливість. Україна вже багато разів робила те, що світ вважав неможливим. Ми можемо знайти рішення і цій ситуації, бо демократія – це не розкіш мирного часу. Демократія – це частина того, за що ми сьогодні воюємо. Але є ще одна причина, чому ця розмова потрібна саме зараз. Люди не можуть нескінченно жити в державі, де вони не розуміють, чому ухвалюються ті чи інші рішення? Чому одні реформи рухаються вперед, а інші блокуються? Чому рішення, які на фронті потрібні сьогодні, місяцями ходять кабінетами?
All right, very strong words there. I specifically like the statement, democracy should not be a peacetime luxury. But of course, there would be so many conflicting opinions on this, and I look forward to the contributions later. Now, let's head on over to a massive case with social media at the center. Opening statements in a landmark case against Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, have begun in the United States, with California, Colorado, Kentucky, and New Jersey accusing the social media giant of deliberately making its platforms addictive to young people. The trial, which is expected to last several weeks, began just yesterday in a U.S. federal court in California before District Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers. While there's an 8-person jury, the group is serving in an advisory role, as Judge Rogers will ultimately decide the case. So just to give you some of the details, the lawsuit accuses Meta of contributing to the youth mental health crisis by knowingly and deliberately designing features that addict children to its platforms and hiding these harms from the public. It also argues that Meta routinely collects data on children under 13 without their parents' consent in violation of federal law. Well, some of the parents who have been impacted by what they call social media addiction were available at the court and made these emotional pleas.
To help bring Meta to this moment of accountability. He used everything he had. The evidence and Meta's internal documents will finally have their day in court. And today, as I stand outside this courthouse as Anna Lee's mom, I have a message for Meta. Mark Zuckerberg and Adam Mosseri, you built one of those most powerful and richest companies in the world has ever known. You designed and built these platforms that reached into our home, into our children's bedrooms, and into our children's minds. But power does not excuse harm. Profits does not erase the responsibility of big tech. And no company, no matter how wealthy, no matter how influential, no matter how untouchable it feels it is, should get to stand above the truth.
Heartfelt. Power does not excuse harm. Well, still sticking with social media as we round up the international part of the world brief, the Irish media regulator has moved to contact social media giant TikTok over its efforts to tackle videos of reckless and illegal driving. So the platform has come under scrutiny after 5 teenage boys were killed when the BMW they were traveling in sped the wrong way up a motorway, and it smashed into a family that was driving to Dublin Airport for a holiday. So the family members that were affected, 3 sisters and a 7-year-old boy, were all seriously injured and continue to receive hospital treatment. But accounts belonging to some of the dead boys appear to show videos of cars being stolen and driven illegally and being pursued by police vehicles. So TikTok has responded, saying that it was closely monitoring content relating to the incident and removing videos and accounts that break its rules. It did go onto TikTok to try and get a sense of some of these videos, and it seems most of them have taken down, but there was a sudden trend where social media users, especially young ones, were recording themselves driving one way in the wrong direction on these highways, and it became a trend that many were trying to imitate on their own pages. Very dangerous stuff. Well, let's quickly check out some of the newspaper headlines from both home and abroad before I hand over to the panel here in studio. We always start with the newspaper of repute this day, of course, as the front page examines the winners and the losers from Ademola Adeleke's victory in the Osun governorship election. The newspaper highlights President Bola Tinubu, Adeleke, Davido, and INEC chairman Joash Amuputan among those who emerged stronger from the election, while noting that the outcome also exposed political losses in influence and credibility for some others. I loved Rifai's contribution that technology also needs to be included on that list. And dare I say the judiciary should be on this list as a loser because of that last-minute addition of the SDP that almost turned this election into chaos. Also this day, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has opened a fresh investigation into Nigeria's cement market over alleged price manipulation. The commission says the probe will determine whether the high cost of cement is justified by production and market costs or driven by anti-competitive practices, amid reports that Nigeria has excess production capacity. Now to New Telegraph. Of course, Oshun will dominate headlines for many more days to come. But yesterday, because Afrobeat star Davido addressed the press, granted interviews and so forth, where he unveiled plans to establish a sports center and concert venue in Osun State as he celebrated his uncle and also took a few jabs at some of the political players. Let's quickly speed on to the next paper, which is Daily Trust. Daily Trust is focusing on D-Day in Abuja as the FCTA's demolition of structures encroaching on designated waterways and drainage channels will commence today. The exercise follows heavy rainfall and flooding, with the FCTA administration warning that affected structures will be removed to restore waterways and prevent further flooding. I hope that in this instance there will be no sacred cows because we know that a number of influential individuals have built on some of these places. So Minister Wike, do it without fear or favor in the way that you always do. Let's go to Punch newspaper, which highlights calls for reforms to Nigeria's approach to security during off-cycle elections following the August 15 Osun governorship poll. We unpack this in detail at the start of the show. The statements made by former President Goodluck Jonathan, who criticized the heavy presence of political bigwigs and security personnel leading up to an off-cycle election. Let's move on to our next paper, which is Vanguard. Vanguard highlights insecurity. Remember, politics has started, but the reality of everyday life continues. Here we have 24 people killed in a fresh gun attack in Bimpe community in Mangu local government area of Plateau State. The attackers reportedly went from house to house, while several others were injured and homes and farmlands were destroyed. The victims have since received a mass burial as Governor Caleb Mufwang directed intensified security in Mangu and other vulnerable communities. And we close with one international paper, which is the Washington Post. And it highlights that the U.S., over here, the U.S. national debt is set to surpass $40 trillion this week. That's a lot of zeros. This is months earlier than previously projected. So the faster borrowing is partly linked to lost revenue from President Donald Trump's invalidated tariffs, raising concerns that the country could reach its $41.1 trillion debt limit by early next year and trigger another debt limit battle. I mean, so much for Liberation Day, right?
It's a good one. Oh. It's a good one.
All right.
Give them more debts, Trump.
So sorry. We're unfortunately not able to chat on these stories. You talked about hearing our thoughts on the Ukrainian issue. I think the major challenge would be the martial law, which has been rolling over since February 24, 2022, as declared by President Zelensky. So no elections at the moment, but it does bring up very important conversations around that. But thank you very much for being by. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we will have Rotu Sodiri to give us updates on global business activities. Stay with us.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank digitally connected across Africa and global financial centers with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly whenever, wherever, however. A bank with smart financial solutions from a systemized blend of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service, Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
A great nation is built from the ground up by hardworking people who just need the right support to shine. We pray for a better tomorrow, but it starts here. A classroom with better learning spaces and materials, where children gain the confidence to lead. We're bringing quality healthcare closer so families receive the care they deserve. Water is life, and with safe water supply and solar energy powering districts, we restore health and fuel local businesses. But for our youth, the talent has always been there, but talent needs opportunity. By equipping them with real-world skills, protecting our borders also means safeguarding the land within them. Look beyond the uniform. These are fellow Nigerians serving their people with purpose. That is what Customs Cares is all about. A series of intentional projects all coming together to bring real change. Because when you uplift the people, the whole of the country moves forward. Customs Cares, empowering communities, transforming lives.
And the winner of the Ugeli Scholarship to Cairo is Bomboy of Boki.
It means say mama no dey give up on pikin, no matter how we hard reach.
Mama Bomboy, your pikin dey call o. Yare yare.
Hello?
And in Cairo, unrest has continued for a 5th day in a row.
MTN, the better connection.
I'll be here.
Hello?
Bobo. Bavo, I miss you. Oh, yo, Majo. Hello? When you come back house?
Mama, I got a job in Canada.
Happy birthday, oh, Momena.
Malice, we don't borrow.
Thank God, oh. Fine, oh. Hello?
Malice, go outside.
Oh, man.
Good job in Lagos. 25 years of connecting generations to life's possibilities. Cheers to the next.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now for global business updates, Rotus Odiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Abasi. Good morning, Ayo, Rufai, all our viewers. IPOs. There's money to be made, right? It's all happening everywhere. But let's start with President Trump, who posted on his Truth Social. I'm not going to read this entire thing. He just basically said that there are no talks going on with Iran, that the Strait of Hormuz is open, and that the United States has complete control of it. And now, go and pass. He said they removed all the water mines. You can all see it, all our viewers. You can see it on the screen. No talks with Iran. Naval blockade remains. We control the Strait of Hormuz. Thank you for attention to this matter. Of course, you say one thing, the market says something else. Oil is still at 90-something. So if the strait was open and more supply, we're just talking about oversupply or something else a moment ago. If there was more supply of vessels going through Rufai, you would see less, if the prices would drop. All right, moving on from there. I think we go to the US markets. Red yesterday. Dow Jones, S&P, and particularly the NASDAQ. I mean, it's the bond yields. It's also the geopolitical situation that is rattling investors. Also, these worries over returns on AI. We got some chip stocks on the United States just to show how bad it was. Micron falling by over 7%. Intel down by 6.5%. Advanced Micro Devices, AMD down by 4%. Broadcom, Nvidia, just chip stocks after chip stocks, tech stocks. That spilled into Asia this morning. I think the Hang Seng was the only index slightly in the green. Everybody else has red. What else is new? The Kospi in Korea, ever volatile, ever parabolic, down by 5.85% to lead the losses. Nikkei following close by down by 3%. Shanghai Composite Index down. And then I just highlighted, of course, who else? SK Hynix and Samsung. Look at SK Hynix, down almost 10%. Samsung down by 7.5%. Not all bad, though. We had another IPO. And we spoke with these guys in Saudi Arabia, the Future Investment Initiative in Riyadh last year. So Unitree Robotics debuting in Shanghai. Look at this. the stock was IPO priced at 150 yuan. The thing popped at 1,100. I think they raised almost about $900 million for the company. And they put out a viral video. It was all over the internet. Look at this thing jumping about 2 meters high. Also, this all came from them. They had a video of the robots running and beating Usain Bolt's 100-meter record. I think it's like, what is Usain Bolt's record? 9 on that sub 9. This thing did in like 7. 965. I did it about seven or so. But yeah, this is just a quick recap of our conversation with. This was their demonstration in Riyadh back in October. We spoke with the head of sales, Lin Wan, who was talking about all the use cases for their robots. Here it is.
I'd say that human robots is the best solution to do human's job. So it can do all of human's tasks. So it can dancing, walking, running, shaking interaction with people. And if you have the ability to program now, it has some AI model, like VRA model, what the model be deployed into robots. It can handle all kind of jobs, like do house cleaning and work in a factory, or if in an office, or in a government showroom, do some guidance, or even like walk in the street, do some police job.
All right, IPOs, that's really tree. Anthropic, look at this. Anthropic, they're also another very big IPO that's coming up. Their credit facility, which they segmented last year, was $2.5 billion. According to Bloomberg, the thing is set to rise by more than a factor of 4 to over 10 billion. And they're building relationships with banks, asking them to commit $1 billion here, 1.2 billion here and there, in order to, and the banks, of course, are going to get major fees from this. Anthropic, for our viewers, Anthropic, of course, is a rival to OpenAI in the artificial intelligence space. They've got Claude that has made so many headlines this year. So that's another big bit of IPO news. Massive credit facility there that they can actually tap into instead of having to go to the bond markets to raise debt. OPay, who doesn't know OPay? They also have a highly anticipated IPO later this year. We understand they could be listing in the US, according to reports, at a $4 billion valuation. Put that in perspective. First holdco is like 4.4. So I mean, it would put them, I think, second after although it's a fintech, to be fair, and I'm comparing to banks, maybe apples and oranges. But I mean, depending on how things go. Anyway, they released their earnings for 2025, 536 million naira, $536 million in revenue, 161% jump, 88% of that coming from Nigeria. So maybe investors might worry about concentration risk. They're in Indonesia, they're in Egypt, but it just shows you the Nigerian markets. I mean, they offer everybody knows what OPay does. I need to tell you what OPay does. Now, their monthly active users, that also climbed 57%, almost 40 million of them. There was a loss in 2024, 550 million, but they bounced to a profit of 72.4 million. So again, Unitree, Anthropic, OPay, and of course, Dangote Refinery, it's in the papers today. I'm sure you've already discussed it in this day newspaper, Nigeria's newspaper of record. Their pre-IPO underwriting, this of course showing healthy demand and confidence in the Dangote Refinery IPO. So $1 billion program there. Part of that 600 million as part of that private placement. I think that was what, 2 billion or so. That's some serious money there from private investors. And then another 400 million commitment towards that IPO with I think it's Marob Strategies and Lilium Capital. You can read all about it in today's this day. But oh yeah, just IPOs left and right. That's what's in the headlines.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brutus. We also look forward to FOMC July meetings report
the minutes,
later today, and let's see how the investor community will respond to that, since investors are not so bothered about the high bond yields and the big earnings. Anyway, thank you. We take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be talking to Olajide Esan, Osun governorship candidate of the African Action Congress. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Licky Licky.
Are you tired of the same old news cycle? Ready to spice things up?
Welcome to Rise 360, your ultimate backstage pass to everything entertainment, art, and culture.
From the glitz and glam of Hollywood to the hottest African stars, Rise 360 brings you closer to the action. From music to the latest movies, we've got it all. Why scroll endlessly on your phone when we can bring the world of entertainment straight to you?
We're talking exclusive interviews, red carpet moments, and behind-the-scenes stories that will keep you buzzing.
Let's celebrate the vibrant culture and creativity that makes us proud to be Nigerian. This is Rise 360,
where entertainment meets lifestyle.
with a dash of spice. Catch us every weekday at 5 p.m. on the Arise News Channel.
And now,
let's get this party started!
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Osun governorship election provided an opportunity for the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC to show its readiness ahead of the 2027 general elections. The conduct has received praises by various stakeholders, and the UK High Commission also commended the conduct of the Osun State governorship election. However, they noted reports of isolated incidents that generated tension before and during the electoral process, including voter interference, vote buying across party lines, as well as overcrowding due to the speed and limited provision of BVAS devices for accreditation. Joining us on the show to discuss the outcome and conduct of the election in Osun State, whether the results reflect the will of the people or if he has reservations on the electoral process, is Olajide Eson, Osun governorship candidate of the African Action Congress. Good morning, Mr. Eson. Good to see you here in the studio.
Good morning.
Today.
Yeah, good morning.
Comrade, good to see you again.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
At the Osun Town Hall, Arise Osun Town Hall Governorship Town Hall.
Yes.
Anyway, that was before the election. Now the election has come and gone.
Yes.
Before you joined us this morning, we were discussing the front page of this day newspaper today, talking about winners and losers. You were one of the major participants in that election.
Yeah.
Now, days after, how do you feel? What's your assessment of the process? Are there any observations that you would like the various institutions to take note of? Or, you are generally satisfied with the outcome?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm satisfied with the outcome because the way elections has been in this country, it hasn't really reflect the will of the people because of the situation that people in Nigeria are in today, the systemic subjugation and the issue of vote buying, because when the masses and the general populace is, they're suffering. And it's just like they are trapped and conditioned to accept whatever they throw at them because of the fact that it's hard for an average Nigerian to even afford 3 square meal a day. So, and it's a kind of, I say, like Nigerians are trapped because they are not really voting for who they want, but they are voting for who can, buy their vote, who have the money to, to decide where election is going to go.
All right, let me ask a sincere question. Do you feel that the AAC, that's the African Action Congress, put in enough work for a showing in the Osun State elections?
Yeah, we did. We did put in enough work. Because
what did you do? Because, I mean, to be honest, your showing at this election was, you didn't have a significant showing. The two major parties were the APC and the Accord Party who led. And then the ADC was able to garner the candidates 17,000 votes. But the AAC didn't show significant showing in the elections. The reason I'm asking is that what lessons can the AAC learn from this? I don't even think you'd be listed as one of the winners because it wasn't a very good showing in Osun State. So what lessons can you pick up from this particular election cycle going forward?
First of all, the lesson I've learned was that we didn't do enough in the area of voters' education. Because there were a lot of people, like there was a family of 6 who voted for us. But at the end of the day, we realized that only one of them did vote for AAC, or that voted for AA. So, and another thing is that I didn't contest against I didn't really contest against political party. I contested against the current establishment, the ignorance of our people, because of the fact that of all the candidates, I can say that I have the best manifesto and I have the best plan for Osun people. But the thing is, I can only do things, that are based on my own capacity. We do we do our rally, we do different programs in Osun State. We go all across the local governments in Osun State, from wards to wards and all that. We did our best. But the thing is that because of the fact that people are trapped, like as I've said earlier, that is why a lot of people who cannot afford 3 square meal ended up taking money from them, because the two parties you call major party represent the same political ideology that has brought Nigeria to its nail. So, and
Accord Party?
Definitely, because the same Accord Party is the same PDP. It's just like a boring, it's just like you borrowing a house. So that is it. The same people in PDP are the same people in Accord Party today. And that is why the election has never, reflect the will of the masses. And apart from that, we have the issue of mental conditioning that make people think that it is the crowd that determines the vision, that determines the capacity to lead. And the capacity to lead has to do with the intellectual capacity, the mental agility, when you understand the problems and you provide workable solutions. But people who are in charge of leadership today are more businessmen pretending to be leaders, and they are there to take advantage of every opportunity. They are there to take advantage of existing problem and to, add to the, existing ones. And without we coming together as a society, there is no way out. There's no way out. Even if you, like I've said, even if you consider the growing population of people who are not resourceful, jobless youth, that's a negative indication that there's no great future for this country. Okay. So,
how many votes did you get?
I would say that I got 1,558 because there were a lot of polling units where they planted people to act as our party agent, because there were a lot of places
where who planted
no, they were both PDP and both APC and PDP in Accord uniform.
So what you're saying is that Accord and APC stole the votes of your party?
Definitely, because an instance is that there are a lot of places where they recorded 04s, but party agents signed. So, and that was because of what we noticed earlier.
How many party agents did you have over the 3,000?
We had over 2,000. But the thing is that because of the fact that these people were looking for ways to buy out party agents, we decided not to release the party tax. We only release about 10% for people we can easily identify with, we can easily trust. But at the end of the day, places where we didn't have party agents, they made fake party tax, and those people use it to act as a party agent. because they know that we don't negotiate, and we are the only people who represent the will of the people who stand for the masses, because all the other political parties, they represent the same ideology that has brought Nigeria to its need. They use them to negotiate. They do all kind of shady things that are not known to Nigerians.
So
and
did they buy some of your party agents too?
I would, I'm not there, but the thing is that some of the party agents that we sent out, some of them signed, and there were many places where they gave us zero and party agent sign, party agents that were not known to us. And another issue is that there are a lot of people who voted in different places. I don't understand why a single voter's name will be in INEC voters register across different polling units. That once they have a voter's card, they can go to different polling units to vote. So these things, definitely, all these things have to be, because they are paying them. It's the leadership in Nigeria today is not really about the plan you have for the people. Because
so can I ask you a very honest question?
Okay.
Do you think that honestly, Adeleke won the election?
Adeleke won election not really based on what he has to offer, but the capacity to promote inducement. Because all these votes buying, not only APC, both APC and Accord.
So you say Adeleke has nothing to offer?
Definitely, because if you really understand what standard is all about, a great leader has to take human capital development seriously. It's not just about doing kangaroo project to siphon state money.
So his projects are kangaroo projects?
Definitely, because a lot of money, money has come into Osun State, but you can't really see it on the people.
Okay. What areas of omission did you observe, particularly on election day, either in terms of electoral management or security management or voter mobilization, that you would like to see, corrected ahead of the 2027 general election? Hang on a minute. And then the second part is, as your party deemed it necessary to congratulate the governor, Adeleke, since the conclusion of the election, or you are in the same boat as the candidate of the APC that has refused to congratulate him?
Thank you. I am not a desperate politician, because even though I always do not want people to call me a politician, not that the meaning of a politician is bad, but politicians are known for lie, deception, and all that. And the way where we are in the country, we don't really have people who actually want to serve Nigeria. They are, the people we have now represent the same establishment, the same circle of elite capture. And when they contesting, they are not contesting to serve the people. They are contesting for who to to be in charge, or who to take the biggest meat. So that is most of the election processes are more of deception. And we as a society have to come to that realization that when we don't take leadership seriously, this country is going nowhere. And it's our role to make sure we take leadership seriously. That is why it's part of our plan to make leadership participatory, to make governance participatory, so every member of our society can get themselves involved. And the thing is that if it's possible, I would like INEC to start adding, even if they can put the candidate picture, they can put candidate name maybe on one side, so that people can know who they are voting for. And another issue is that a lot of party agents represent different parties. There were a lot of party agents. You can see about 1, 2, 3 party agents represent the same political party, that they came to manage the interests of one political party, not the interests of their own political party. That is their own kind of plan, and that is why there is no way for this country when we stop doing things differently.
Did you pay your party agents?
Party agent?
Yeah. Did you pay them?
We mobilized them.
How much did you mobilize them with?
It's not a big money. That is about 5,000 naira.
Okay, you gave each of the 2,000 people 5,000 naira.
Yeah, to go, not all of them. We didn't send all of them out. And the thing is that is the money paid as a kind of sacrifice, because it's our collective role.
Yeah, volunteers.
Yes, most of them are volunteers. So whoever that cannot afford to go, try to move themselves.
And that's important. Maybe in the future we can get to a point where it's not all about money.
That is how it's supposed to be, because it's our collective responsibility to.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Olajide. Thank you, and congratulations for being a part of the process. And I believe that lessons learned will be taken forward not just for 2027 but future future gubernatorial elections in Osun State and beyond. Time for a short break now. When we return, Ebi Iyomon will be here with Global Sports Update. Stay with us.
And the winner of the Ugeli Scholarship to Cairo is Bomboy of Bucky.
It means say mama no dey give up on pikin, no matter how we hard reach.
Mama Bomboy, your pikin dey call o. Yare yare.
Hello?
And in Cairo, unrest has continued for a 5th day in a row.
MTN, the better connection.
Only here. Hello? Bobo. Mavo, I miss you. Oh, yo, Majo. Hello? When you come back house?
Mama, I got a job in Canada.
Happy birthday, oh, Momena.
Malice, we don't borrow.
Thank God, oh. Fine, oh. Hello?
Malice, go outside.
Oh, man.
Job in Lagos. 25 years of connecting generations to life's possibilities. Cheers to the next.
When it comes to the best of personal finance, the best thing has come to you. With Vault, all you need to do is lock in. With the Polaris Salary Advance, you can get up to 50% of net monthly salary in under a minute with Vault or with our smart code *833*12#. Available 24/7, just lock in. With the Polaris term loan, you get access to up to 30 million Naira via Vault and at all Polaris branches with monthly installments spread across 36 months. Just lock in. The Polaris Asset Finance or Buy Now Pay Later with financing of up to 1 million Naira to be paid back across 12 months and without equity. Just lock in. Lock in with Vault by Polaris, or you can dial *833*12#. Open 24/7 and within minutes, all from the comfort of your mobile phone. Open a Polaris salary account and open new levels. Download Vault by Polaris Bank, available both on Google Play Store and Apple App Store. Polaris Bank.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. For updates on sports stories across the globe, Ebi Iyomon joins us. Good morning, Ebi.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai, and good morning, Dr. Bati. Good morning to our viewers as well. Yeah, thank you. Well, we begin with boxing. Now, the wait for one of the biggest boxing heavyweight showdowns could finally be coming to an end. Our talks for Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua have reached a critical stage, but there is still one major issue to resolve. That's where the fight will take place. The original agreement was for the blockbuster to be staged in the United Kingdom, but now Madison Square Garden in New York has emerged as a serious contender to host the bout. Matchroom Boxing CEO, that's Frank Smith, says the next 7 to 10 days could be decisive, with November being considered as a possible date. Both fighters are coming off victories, and Fury himself added fuel to the excitement, teasing that an official announcement could be coming very soon. And to football, and transfer. Jose Mourinho says he personally spoke to Rodri about joining Real Madrid, but the midfielder had doubts, and Barcelona eventually won the race for the World Cup winner. Mourinho was unveiled yesterday, same day that we had Rodri being unveiled. And still on that, he says he played a role in Vinicius Junior's new Real Madrid contract, urging the Brazilian to stay. And with 6 summer signings already, Mourinho says he does not expect any more arrivals before the window closes. Meanwhile, Aston Villa have agreed a deal for Wan-Bissaka, initially on loan with an obligation to buy. West Ham had previously wanted around £25 million, while Villa could also lose Oli Watkins with Al Hilal of Saudi Arabia submitting a €45 million bid for the England striker. And at Atletico Madrid, Diego Simeone has firmly ruled out Julian Alvarez leaving for Barcelona, insisting the club are determined to keep the Argentine. Well, still on football, Bayern Munich midfielder Jamal Musiala said he's been treated for neurological treatment yesterday. Musiala collapsed 6 minutes after coming off the bench in Bayern's 4-2 friendly victory against Eddieheim. The 23-year-old appeared dazed as he received medical treatment and was helped off the pitch. The incident occurred after he collapsed during Saturday's 3-1 friendly win over RB Leipzig in Munich. Musiala later posted a statement on Instagram to ease fears about the situation, saying he's been diagnosed with temporary but easily treatable absence seizures. Now, still on football, a familiar name in Senegalese football is taking on a brand new challenge. Arsenal and France legend Patrick Vieira has been appointed the new head coach of Senegal national football team. The appointment is a significant one for Vieira, as this is his first job as an international coach. Born in Senegal before moving to France at the age of 8, Vieira brings plenty of coaching experience, having managed 5 clubs already. That's New York FC, Crystal Palace, Nice, Strasbourg, and most recently, Genoa. Vieira will replace Pape Thiaw, who was dismissed in July following Senegal's round of 32 exit to Belgium at the World Cup. And finally, in tennis, yesterday was a day of contrasting fortunes at the Cincinnati Open. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka stormed into the 4th round, needing just 54 minutes to beat Wang Ziyu 6-1, 6-3 without facing a single break point. But her number 1 ranking is under threat. Alina Rybakina can overtake her by winning the title, provided Sabalenka doesn't reach the quarterfinals. Coco Gauff also advanced, beating Anne Lee 6-1, 7-6, while Frances Tiafoe edged Lena Tien in 3 sets. For Dani Medvedev, he squandered 3 match points against Brandon Nakashima before losing 6-7, 7-6, 6-1. But that's all from your sports this morning.
Oh, thank you very much indeed, Hebe. Well, we'll take a short break now. And when we return, Annie Ozakwe will be here with details on what's trending. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
There she is watching the same recipe for the 16th time. Pausing, there is it, nodding and rewinding, only for her to wing it again. But it's okay. With me, she has unlimited data to watch endlessly. And honestly, I'm rooting for her until she nails it. Get Airtel Smart Connect today. Call toll-free 0911 00 00080.
A recent German geological survey estimates Nigerian mineral wealth at $700 billion, a conservative figure likely to rise with further exploration. Yet, the sector contributes less than 1% to GDP. Fidelity Bank has climbed to the top of Nigerian banking industry as the highest contributor to non-oil export foreign exchange earnings. The key, our in-depth understanding of what constitutes bankable projects. At Fidelity Bank Corporate, we provide blended finance, patient equity, rigorous counterparty screening, international off-taker purchase guarantees, escrow management, FX hedging, and regulatory coordination. The outcome, finance plants generating 10,000 plus jobs, significant export revenue, and positioning Nigeria in global supply chains. We turn vision into bankable projects with proven financing architecture. Speak to us today. Thank you.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Every morning, more than 242.5 million dreams awaken across Nigeria. Dreams of opportunity, dreams of hope, dreams of growth, dreams of a brighter future. But dreams alone are not enough. Dreams need support. They need vision. They need leadership that delivers. President Bola Tinubu, in office since May 2023, has pursued economic diplomacy, regional leadership, and reforms that supporters and some international observers credit with raising Nigeria's global profile. Some key reported positive developments so far include the following. Early July 2026, around 3 to 4 July, more than 1.64 million students with about 303.91 billion naira disbursed in total. Nigeria's oil and gas industry is entering a new chapter. Under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a series of reforms has sought to reposition one of the nation's most strategic sectors. President Tinubu has strongly pushed for state or multi-layered policing to decentralize Nigeria's centralized system and improve local response to insecurity. All these and more achievements have all been realized within a 3-year span. This is not a moment to cease our efforts. Let us collaborate to attain a second term of expanded opportunities and renewed hope. PBAT 2027, leadership that embraces tomorrow. This message is brought to you by PBAT Door-to-Door Movement.
Welcome to Licky Licky.
Are you tired of the same old news cycle? Ready to spice things up?
Welcome to Rise 360, your ultimate backstage pass to everything entertainment, art, and culture.
From the glitz and glam of Hollywood to the hottest African stars, Rise 360 brings you closer to the action.
From music's the latest movies, we've got it all. Why scroll endlessly on your phone when we can bring the world of entertainment straight to you?
We're talking exclusive interviews, red carpet moments, and behind-the-scenes stories that will keep you buzzing.
Let's celebrate the vibrant culture and creativity that makes us proud to be Nigerian.
This is Arise 360,
where entertainment meets lifestyle.
With a dash of spice.
Catch us every weekday at 5 p.m. on the Arise News Channel.
And now,
let's get this party started!
Good morning to everyone out there. It is Wednesday, August 19, and we're coming on the air with all major presidential candidates making it official, signing the National Peace Accord that 2027 will have no violence, no hate speech, no personal attacks. The question is, do Nigerian politicians always play by the rules? We'll be watching. Then, the emotional moments as Angelique Kidjo made history, becoming the first Black African singer to ever get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Why she sang that without Africans, there would be no music on the planet. I'm Aniez Osakwe in for Oji Okpe, and this is What's Trending. Now, before we dive deeper, let's see what you're talking about right now. Our team, as always, is looking at the biggest conversations on X, Facebook, our YouTube Live, and of course on Leke Leke. And 3 stories are all over your timelines this morning. Trending at number 1, Davido, fully unfiltered. The musician speaking out about the ins and outs of what went down during the Osun election, how the Senate president called him, how Africa's richest man called him, and why he says he didn't listen to their pleas. We'll discuss. Trending at number 2, don't believe everything you see online. Nigeria's Drug Law Enforcement Agency just busted an international cocaine cartel. 185 kilos at Lagos Airport, with the popular social media influencer KC Luxury at the center of it all. And trending at number 3, outrage over how these alleged police officers barged into a woman's compound, compelling her to follow them to the station. We'll get into that story later in the show, but here's where you come in. Join the conversation, use the hashtag What's Trending with Oji Okpe, comment on our live feed and on Leke Leke. Tell me which of these stories matters to you or what's trending in your own community, because for the next 45 minutes, we are going into everything that has Nigeria and the rest of the world buzzing. But first, people are reacting to striking claims from FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, who on Tuesday told the press that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu could have secured an APC win in Osun State if he wanted to win. If he wanted to, he would have. And if that were the case, Wike says that he would have been on the ground personally in Osun, and he would have made that happen. Those are some bold claims. Let's watch.
I'm sure that if the president wanted to win Osun at all costs, and the governor would have known that it would have been different. Election is not won one day. Election is not one day. Election is a process. You can't just get up in the morning to go and win an election. President is a politician now. So people should not, when they say effort of federal government, what do you see to show that federal government is seriously interested to win this? If colleagues, governors, as of a party, think that by going there, will have a form of influence, it is to the people. I didn't see anything that anybody would tell the federal government did. Do you know what you're talking about if federal government carried influence? Do you not see 2019 influence in Rivers State election, where you saw federal might, where the military was fully involved, where women came out naked, carrying their breasts, showing the soldiers, look at our breasts, you won't do anything here today. That's what they say. When you see might, military might, federal might, where you see where military base was turned to collection center, then when they talk about federal might.
Wike's argument here essentially states that the federal government deliberately stayed out of the election, allowing the Osun state polls to proceed without what he called federal might, rather than deploying political influence to get an APC victory. But remember, it was just last Thursday that a swarm of APC governors were in Osun state at a mega rally to drum up support for the APC candidate. Senate President Godswill Akpabio was there, Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma was there, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu was there, Ondo State Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa, Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun, Kwara State Governor Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak, Edo State Governor Monday Okpebolo, and that is just some of them, not all. And if that's not federal might, then what is? But irrespective, Wike's comments raise a bigger question about Nigerian elections. If political power can determine an outcome if fully deployed, what does that mean for our democracy? And that is the big question we have this morning. So let me just say good morning to the morning show team as always. Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning.
Good morning.
Aya. Good morning, Rufai. Rufai, I'll come to you on this first story. But first, I'll take two quick reactions. The first from Chinedu, who says, so he's telling us that Godswill Akpabio, Hope Uzodinma, and 99 other powerful APC members who were fully involved but couldn't deliver don't know the game enough. It's only if he had got involved that the result would have been different. You're not a god, Mr. Wike. Then Felix on Leke Leke says, that statement says a lot about the kind of political influence Wike believes he commands. But power is ultimately measured by what you can deliver, not what you claim you could have done. Rufai, these comments from Wike, I mean, what do you make of them?
While the tape was playing, I was asking Minister Wike a question. You see, when people tell stories, they tell the parts that suits them. With the federal might he claimed they used against him in 2019, who won the election? He should say that part. Did he not win the election? When he was up against the wall and he claimed, yeah, federal might. Did he not win the election? So does it not mean that people can win federal might? That's exactly what happened in Osun State. And you see all of this narrative that they are trying to change. You see, like I said yesterday, Anise, there's something called stages of grief. The first stage is denial. The second stage is anger. It's when you now pass denial and anger, you will now be going to acceptance stage. They have not accepted the defeat yet. The stages of grief. The first stage of grief they are passing through is the denial. The denial is, oh, we didn't use federal might. If we wanted to win, we would have used federal might. He's denying. They are denying the fact that the federal might failed. So they are using narrative to gaslight people that, there's no way we could have lost. It's the federal might. We didn't use the federal might. Federal might that they boldly used everywhere that we saw. So they are denying that they didn't use the federal might because they used the federal might and it failed. So it's a first stage of grief, denial. They don't want to accept. They can't fathom that with the over 110 billion as alleged by Davido and all the calling to bring down his tweets that they did, and all the influence that they did, that it failed. So they cannot accept that Oju Towo, 50,000. They cannot accept that Ojuti influence. They cannot accept that with the fact that the IRF stopped uploading for 5 hours. They cannot accept that with the fact that they've not ensured that local governments release all this while. They cannot accept that with all that they did, that the people stood tall and they won. So that denial is still there. So when they are in their stage of grief called denial, then they gaslight people because they can't accept how the federal might failed.
Powerful words from Rufai, and we're going to stay in Osun because, like he said, people online have a lot to say about an explosive new interview from the Afrobeat star and nephew to Governor Adeleke Davido, who's now claiming that the Senate President Godswill Akpabio and the founder of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, both personally called him during the elections to delete his posts that implicated Akpabio on social media. Now, Davido made these comments on Tuesday, and the internet is all over it. Let's watch.
I heard the Senate President was trying to call the coalition center. And that is like my godfather, Akpabio.
But you already said
he was calling me. They were calling me to delete. I said, sir, sorry, I don't. Everybody, you guys have literally just gone against my uncle. Like, you know what I'm saying? You guys are seeing this man. I can't delete anything. My uncle Aliko called me to delete. I said, Uncle Aliko, I'm only deleting. Until INEC announced, I'm only deleting anything.
Now, for context, we have a picture of one of the tweets that Davido posted as he was monitoring the election, where he made a similar allegation. We have a photo of that Davido tweet. If we can just pull it up. There it is. Senate President Akpabio has called the collation center that they should stop collating. But you know, this interview is, of course, putting the spotlight on how consequential Davido's role was as results were slowly coming out because he was reacting on social media in real time. And of course, he has many millions of fans. And as the public was privy to the play-by-play on election day, throughout this process, they've also been privy to the war of words between Edo State Governor Monday Okpebholo and Governor Adeleke. Well, in this same interview, Davido stated he has zero plans to apologize to Okpebholo after sharing what appeared to be the governor's WAEC results online. Let's take a look.
I'm not going to apologize. I didn't do anything wrong. I was just letting people of the state the results their governor has. You understand? You left your state, came to another state to Rigo. First came to Rig, then you come in and then you start talking that my uncle is a dancer, he's not serious. The road to your government house is not done. My uncle is not serious. First of all, you were not even elected. You were selected. You didn't win those votes, sir. Finish your 3 years. We'll visit you when it's time for you to get re-elected.
Strong words. Now, this controversy began after Okpebholo criticized Governor Adeleke, mocking him for his love of dancing and questioning his leadership style. Well, for Davido, posting the alleged WAEC results was akin to freedom of information for people to know the governor's academic record. But listen, Davido wasn't all about critiques. He was also adamant about the fact that the people of Osun State, the young people, showed up and gave Nigeria a reason to believe in the country's democracy. So let's play a second from those comments.
You guys didn't only give hope to people in Osun. You guys gave hope to the whole Nigeria. Because if this had gone the other way, I think Nigeria would have actually given up on what they call free and fair election.
Now, Ayo, this is a powerful statement about the future of Nigeria, and what Davido expressed about the younger generations was inarguably palpable both online and in person, standing in line at the polling stations. But this was such a big interview. Davido has become so central and critical to the conversations around what happened in Osun State.
It's almost as if he's the governor-elect or the deputy governor, but he's spoken up very.
He's the deputy governor.
He's a very humble man. That way.
He was actually involved in the process.
Yeah, he was. He was actually there when the results was announced.
I remember that.
And Governor Adeleke brought him out.
And it was the one that received by Obasanjo when he came visit.
We are not hearing
there have been criticisms. How many deputy governors do you hear from? The governor shies. Deputy governor steps in when there's a need to. But well, the truth is
that let's mention his name so that we give him some due recognition. Dr. Bati, his name, please.
All right.
Mr. Dewusi.
There you go.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, let me talk about Davido's interview.
Yes.
And, earlier on, when we were talking about the winners and losers based on the piece by This Day newspaper, just detailing, of course, Davido was one of the winners listed. And in my notes, I didn't say it earlier, that I believe that in the spirit of sportsmanship, like Dr. Bati had said earlier, it should be magnanimous in victory. However, it should also be an opportunity for truth-telling. Even though he said he didn't delete tweets, he did delete some tweets. He deleted tweets about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and tweets about the APC based on what his uncle, the governor, said was a phone call saying that they were going to support Tinubu. So it's still a game of politics at the end of the day. But did he play a critical role? Absolutely. I do feel that based on this, they'll be showing him, tongue in cheek. They'll be showing Sheyi Tinubu, see your mate, see what he did in Osun State. This is what a son of the house, a young man of the house who can mobilize young people can do. And so, Sheyi Tinubu has a huge task ahead of him based on what Davido has done. But some of the statements he made, giving kudos to the young people in Osun State, absolutely. Earlier on, I said the biggest winners, and which wasn't identified in this day list, are the Osun State people, especially the young people and women. And these are usually groups that come out during elections alone and do not even bring in their bargaining power because of the influence they wield during election season. And so this is a rallying call just to double down on what Davido, who has shown himself as the leader of the youths in Osun State, that the elections in 2027 could very well be decided by you, young people in Nigeria. You already hold the ace in your hands because you make up the highest number in terms of PVCs collected,
Yes.
registered voters, and the population of Nigeria. Also, the future belongs to you. And so you cannot just sit down on Twitter, on X, on social media and complain alone.
Yeah.
It is time for you to put your words into action. I've heard many of them saying, I'm not coming out for the elections, I'm not interested, but you have to be interested in the elections. This is your future. And so I'm hoping that what Osun State has demonstrated, like Davido had mentioned, would be a boost to them to come out and have confidence in the process again.
Absolutely. Young people need to be involved. It's your country and your future. But speaking of Okpebolo, a young man in Edo State is now trending after a video came out on Tuesday showing a very chaotic roadside scene. Now, in this clip, the man stands by a major truck accident where hundreds of drinks have spilled and scattered on the ground, blatantly saying that this is the same road that Governor Monday Okpebolo used to go to Osun State to campaign for the APC candidate. Let's take a look.
15 trillion naira, where the money they go? If we can't run those road, money do this road now, this road don't go good. Okpebolo, now here you pass go Osun State, oh. Now here you pass go Osun State. You go pass and come back again. I wish that today they come back when you can see. Your state no road, straight to now they do. I better call out for me, Jare.
And as conversations develop around the lessons learned from Osun's elections, former President Goodluck Jonathan is weighing in, writing in a detailed X post on Tuesday that it's not normal for groups of governors or senior party leaders to all troop into a state and campaign on behalf of a candidate during elections. He writes in part on X, "The practice where serving governors and other functionaries accompanied by aides raises an issue that demands national attention. The conduct witnessed around the elections in Osun, Ekiti, and Ondo was, in my view, unusual. There's a point at which mobilization, particularly when it involves the overwhelming presence of serving governors, senior officials, and powerful political actors, can create an atmosphere of apprehension, intimidation, bullying, and undue pressure. What happens when each party seeks to match political power with political power, governmental influence with governmental influence, and mobilization with counter-mobilization?" The former president went on to call on the National Peace Committee to provide a platform to figure out the standards that will protect Nigeria's democracy, because in his eyes, what the country saw in Osun, Ekiti, and Ondo should not be replicated anywhere else. And Dr. Abati, I'll come to you on these stories, but meanwhile, it comes as key presidential candidates, including Nigeria Democratic Congress presidential candidate Peter Obi and African Action Congress Omoyele Sowore, officially signed the National Peace Accord on Tuesday in Abuja. Now, President Tinubu was represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, all of them affirming that Nigeria must move forward in peace and harmony. It comes as Obi went even further, calling on all Nigerians to reject any candidate who so much as breaks this accord. And, you know, within the last 2 hours, Obi also did a post on X where he said those seeking to be addressed as His Excellency must behave excellently, which I thought was interesting. But Abati, it's a lot, but your take on all of these stories.
Okay, yes, I agree with Mr. Peter Obi that those who seek to be addressed as His Excellency should act excellently. But has that been the case in Nigeria? But as some kind of admonition, as some kind of expectation, that is in order. We expect the highest possible standards of behavior, of conduct, of comportment from those who seek to lead us. After all, the mantra is that it's better to lead by example. When you lead by example, then of course the followership can take a cue in that regard. And as for the peace accord, yes, of course, I commented on this earlier on. Now, when the National Peace Committee was established in 2014, ahead of the 2015 general elections, it was within the context of the threats abroad at the time by members of the opposition that the country will be burnt down if victory was won by the incumbent People's Democratic Party government at that time. And it was on the back of that elder statesmen and women, leaders, voices of reason, leaders of thought, came together and set up that National Peace Committee with General Abdulsalami Abubakar as the chairman. I already listed some of the names of persons who were there. I don't want to repeat myself. And that National Peace Committee has been very consistent since then in making sure that every election cycle, people are reminded to be of the best conduct, to give democracy a chance, to conduct a peaceful process, just as President Goodluck Jonathan had already also again amplified. Now, his point is that in Osun State, he commended the process in Osun State, that it was peaceful. But one of the things he pointed out that, he rather condemned, that he found unusual, even if there have been instances in the past, 2013, 2014, which he discouraged immediately as president, is this idea of 22 governors, 57 lawmakers, all living different parts of the country, all abandoning Abuja and trooping to one place where election is starting, and then driving all over the city. Absolute waste of money. You needed to have seen the parade, both the political parade, the military parade, the paramilitary parade. Okay, that of the military and paramilitary ahead of the Osun election. You can perhaps understand where they're coming from, just to let the people know, that we are on the ground and we will not tolerate any kind of impunity. But how about people from Edo who were parading on the streets of Osogbo?
Right.
Including some, what did I call them? Hackmen.
Yes.
Shouting all over the street and all that. Yes. As I said, I hope some of these people have wives at home.
I'm sure they do.
Because I was surprised. One fellow, what's his name again? Emmanuel, or what do they call him?
Yeah. It's a lucrative job.
Estate to the governor.
Yeah, they probably.
It's a lucrative job.
Probably.
To be a hackman.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You've been warned before.
Okay.
But in any case, the gentleman who was criticizing Governor Okpebolo, saying, "Oh, he traveled on this road to Osun." That's a federal road.
Yes.
That's a federal road. It's not the responsibility of Governor Okpebolo to go and be reconstructing federal road.
Okay.
So that criticism was misplaced.
Okay.
But his point about roads being in good condition so that there will be no accidents, okay, that's admissible.
Absolutely.
But it's not Okpebolo's fault that the road is in bad condition.
And
federal road.
That's an important distinction, but that scene was just incredible. All those bottles on the floor. But listen, as we talk about governors, let's head to Ogun State, where Governor Dapo Abiodun, along with Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, officially launched the National Community Food Bank on Tuesday, with the First Lady fully leaning into her role as Mother of the Nation. During the event in Shagamu, food items were distributed to families in need, with the First Lady seen holding and embracing some of the program's smallest recipients. Let's take a government social intervention work to support families struggling with food insecurity, and there's a lot of them. According to the UN, about 35 million in Nigeria. But this video of, the First Lady holding babies has captured the public's attention. What are we to make of the story?
Babies are a huge constituency, and they always melt my heart. So, but let's now extend it further. Yes, social impact programs, okay, for food are good, but what's the sustainability threshold?
Right.
And you see, we need to also have a country where we have availability of food. We had a professor come to talk about post-harvest losses alone, Professor Ken Ife, and what we are losing in that area. The food ecosystem, the food inflation, the fact that most parents cannot be able to afford food. It's a big problem. The fact that as we speak today, trying to eat 3 square meals is already above minimum wage threshold. Nigeria Bureau of Statistics was talking about the fact that it will cost you about 1,500 to be able to have food that have all of the, balanced nutrient grades and all of that. I want to use the word the balanced diet, and if you have 3 square meals of that, that's close to 5,000. Now extrapolate that by 30 days. Definitely, you see that's more than the 70,000 minimum wage. So you still have a very big problem. There's a lot of food insecurity,
right?
Occasioned by, insecurity factor, economic factor, drought factor, inflationary factor, other societal factor. And that's why you see that collectively, a lot of Nigerians have been pushed into food poverty. Over 62% of the population living in abject poverty. And these are challenges. And schemes like this are not far-reaching enough. Because how many people can you cover? So we need to have a system where people are given the economic fecundity in such a way that they can go to the market and actually buy food for themselves and feed themselves.
Absolutely.
But this is a laudable one. Kudos to them.
Yes, absolutely. But like Rufai said, it's all about sustainability. Can this be sustained long term? But let's now shift gears and take this next story, a disturbing one, with a video surfacing of a badly bruised woman speaking about how she had offended her husband and that he in turn corrected her. Now, in this clip, the woman shares her perspective, speaking through severe swelling on her face about why she thinks her husband was justified. Viewers' discretion is advised, but let's take a look.
Nothing is bad about it. So mi ṣe nǹkan tó bá lọ fà mo ṣẹ̀ ló bá mi gbogbo bó dẹ̀ ṣe bá mi rí báyìí mo dẹ̀ ti kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ so mi náà ní ṣe irú ẹ̀ mọ́ má bínú ọkọ mi àkànní má bínú sí mi.
Hard to watch, but this woman's comments, this video have triggered a wave of reactions online, with a lot of Nigerians questioning the idea that violence can ever be described as a form of correction. But beyond this clip, of course, this has opened up larger conversations about domestic violence than the added layer of speaking about it in such a visceral, public way on social media.
The power of the internet, and I believe it has triggered social change in many instances, because now people can take your phone and record things real time, or experiences that they are facing that maybe might not be heard if we didn't have technology or social media platforms. I was saying when the video was playing that this has to be a tongue-in-cheek video. When you're trying to report something and you're not, because I find it very difficult to imagine that any woman would pick up the phone and proudly post a video like this where her face has been obviously battered by a man who is supposed to be her friend, her lover, her husband, and she's coming out to say that, she has learned her lesson, and this is, but let me say on the surface of it, that let's assume that this is true, that this is the mentality of some people in society. I would say, of course, one of the first response to this would be proper education and the role of family and society in enabling domestic violence. I say this because this is a narrative in some families where they say that, oh, he's just a little, he's just correcting you. He's just, oh, he's just, they even say it's love play. It's only the person that loves you that wants to see you. And they even misuse the Bible that is whom he loves. Yes, that is the one that they love that they correct. But this is not correction. This is abuse. And families must be able to stand up and support victims of domestic violence. Society as well. One of the reasons why people don't speak out is because of societal stigma. What will people say? Because one of the things they ask you is, what were you doing? You provoked him. What did you say? And so there's a cultural change that must happen if we're to tackle domestic violence before we then come into the law. Dr. Bati always quotes the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act and talks about the provisions of the act that deals with instances like this. I also often refer to agencies like the DSVA, Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency here in Lagos State, that I feel ought to be replicated across states in Nigeria. Whether man or woman, husband or wife, anyone that is going through domestic violence is a victim. And that should be the narrative. Not that anybody is trying to teach you a lesson that is very false, not that you might be the one at fault. Even if you did anything wrong, it doesn't warrant another human being to do such or inflict such harm on you. And we need to report more. A lot of times we don't report. We need to encourage victims to report more. And we need to see actual convictions. If we don't see this, we will continue to perpetuate this evil and have people, family members say, don't take it out of the family, or this culture of silence that exacerbates the challenge. And so there are many issues. I hope that she would get help, and religious organizations also should not put it under the cloak of forgiveness. You forgive, but you still face the consequences. You also go and face the law as well. I think that's very important.
Absolutely. I mean, that video was incredibly difficult to watch, but it was important to show because this is the reality across the country and the world, really. This next story has Nigeria's police force under serious scrutiny, with people reacting to a clip where alleged officers barge into a woman's compound in Lagos and try to force her to go to the Labasa police station. The woman, identified as Diamond, emotionally demands them about how they got into her home in the first place, insisting that she never received any official invite to the station. Let's take a look at this interaction that's dominating conversation right now.
You are free to do whatever.
Well, who are you? Who are you, sir? Who are you? How did you get into my compound? Why did you break into my door?
Why did you break into your door?
Okay, sir, I'm here. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Understand?
Video. I'm listening.
You can come outside.
I can't come outside. Talk to me.
You can come outside.
I can't come outside. Talk to me. Why are you here?
There's a petition against your person.
From where?
Understand?
From petition from who? No, you can say I'm here. You can hear me.
We don't want to.
Who is the person that petitioned me? Then you guys broke into my apartment.
Broke into your apartment. Your maid opened that door. Understand?
Yeah.
Your maid opened that door. So you just.
So why are you backing in my passage?
Nobody is back. We are knocking for you to come.
Did you send me the petition? Did you send me the petition on WhatsApp? I didn't come.
They are sending several invitations.
Nobody sent me invitation. Nobody sent me invitation. Send me an invitation, or maybe call me. I would have come. The last time I honored the invitation. Why did you just track me like that? I should come out. No female police officer, nothing.
People have been tagging the Nigeria police force on X, but the force has not officially responded to this video yet. But what's really striking to the public are the paper ID cards labeled Nigeria Police with close-ups revealing no names, no force numbers, or official markings, raising questions around who these men really are. Now, Dr. Abati, I'll come to you on this and Rufai on this story, but I'll take this reaction from Teddy first, who says, they were initially polite, which is really difficult to see in Nigeria. They showed you their ID card, and you were just running your mouth and shouting as if they're your mate. If your conscience is clear and you've done nothing wrong, the best is to ask what station they're from. Then SND says, in any civilized country, a police officer cannot simply break into someone's home without following due process. If they intend to arrest someone, they should have a valid warrant or lawful grounds to do so. What is happening in Nigeria? Why does it seem like the rule of law is being disregarded so casually, Dr. Abati?
Okay, this is part of the problem we have in Nigeria. The gentleman who was saying, oh, they came, they were polite. you should have followed them to the station in Nigeria. So that they will take her to the den of kidnappers. Because those people, they look like kidnappers. Although nobody can say categorically that this is how kidnappers look. But we can jump to any assumption because they are not even in uniform. People just look like they were just they were straining in another direction from a beer parlor, going to a woman's house and say she's wanted at the station. He even has toothpick in his mouth. Look at him. He says toothpick. It's coming from a petrol soup joint. If I were in the woman's shoes too, I would not follow. I would not follow them. So the woman acted well because again, this is public education for everybody. The police, they've already given phone numbers that if you have any problem with the police, call this number. You can even call the Inspector General of Police directly. I'm not sure that woman even remembered any phone numbers because nobody trusts the police.
Yes.
Even the IGP's number will not go through. This is not an identity card. So anybody can just go to a business center, print a paper, identity card, and come and be brandishing it. I think that the woman should just have called on neighbors, call a whole crowd on top of their head, as they say in Yoruba language. So that other people can be involved. And even if she follows them, then there will be about 20, 30 people following. That's the only kind of protection that she can have. As for domestic violence, we have complained forever in this country, on this table, that there are laws against violence of any form. Now, look at that young lady. I hope that it's not AI generated, and I hope it's not a Nollywood act. Because these days we have some of those things, there's always a performance. How can a girl given to a man in marriage, the husband will beat her, panel beat her face, the right word is panel beating, disfigured the face, and then the woman will say, he was correcting me, and I've taken my correction, and I'm going back to my husband. It's not an isolated case. Last month, there was another reported case of a lady whose husband was arrested by the police for beating her, for brutalizing her. Do you know that it was the lady that was now begging the police, saying that it's my husband, don't worry, we'll go and settle our matter at home. Which is where the vigilance of families is important. Train your daughter to know that you are not a punching bag. If your husband wants to learn boxing, let him go and look for Portable and be doing sparring sessions with Portable, celebrity boxer. Or he looks for one boy they call a Okocha. Not to turn a girl that has been given to you in marriage into a punching bag.
Absolutely.
If anybody tries that. Okay, don't let me complete that line of thought.
No.
Violence of any sort is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
Whether man, woman, woman, man, woman, man, man, woman.
Any kind of violence is unacceptable. And Rufai, I'll take your quick comments, but before I do, let's highlight this video of the Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Diso, who recently celebrated his 30th wedding anniversary by singing to his wife. Now, in this video, Diso is seen holding a mic, singing every word of the popular song Iyawo Mi by Timi Dakolo. Let's watch.
I will love you forever. Ìyàwó mi, olólùfẹ́ mi, ọ̀rẹ́ mi àyànfẹ́. I will love you forever.
So cute. We love love on the morning show, right?
We have a romantic Inspector General.
We do.
You know, when he was promoted, this was how he also serenaded his mother. And now it is the wife.
That's
Two
lovely.
very important women in his life.
Absolutely.
Truly
Absolutely.
romantic. Maybe he's also a poet.
He might be.
Yes.
He's a poet.
Tunji, my lover.
He's a romantic. He's a Tunji, my lover. He's a people's person. He's a people's person. We disagree on it, but he's a solid guy, solid man, very good man.
He gives a positive image of the policeman.
He does.
Unlike those pepper who joined policemen.
Very educated, very aware. I'm not saying it's perfect too.
Yes.
It doesn't mean we'll not fight over some things tomorrow, but it's a good representative. But let me talk about two things.
Okay.
Number one, I've dealt with a lot of domestic abuse cases by the virtue of a program that was very popular radio program I did called Sharing Life Issues many years ago. And those that live in Lagos and its environs know about that program. The truth is, it's a cultural problem. We have gotten women into resettlement places because of we have a case of the husband beating them, and the women will live there and even blackmail you to help them in the end.
Right.
True.
So they're also very difficult to help.
Because the assumption is that the wife is a chattel.
Yeah. So they're also very difficult to help,
chattel?
and it's a sensitive thing. As the police situation, obviously you know that those are scam police. I think next time when she like your chatter is ole.
Right.
They will run.
Absolutely. I mean, all of these stories kind of just highlighting the different issues that Nigerians face on a daily basis. But let's now turn to our milestone report, where this week, Africa and the world are remembering the life of former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan, who passed away on August 18, 8 years ago, a giant of international diplomacy whose legacy of peace and cooperation continues to inspire today. Born on April 8, 1939 in Kumasi, Ghana, Annan spent more than 4 decades working within the UN system, eventually becoming the organization's 7th Secretary General in 1997, making history as the first from sub-Saharan Africa. Now, during his time at the UN, he championed multilateral cooperation, human rights, and sustainable development, while pushing for diplomatic solutions to some of the world's most challenging conflicts. His leadership also helped advance major development initiatives, including the Millennium Development Goals. After leaving the UN, he continued his peace and humanitarian work, establishing the Kofi Annan Foundation, which works to advance democracy and international cooperation. Years after his passing, his legacy is still incredibly relevant, especially his belief that peaceful dialogue must always come before confrontation, a lesson we can all implement in our lives. May his soul rest in peace. Let's take our good news report now, a story of Nigerian academic excellence, with Adebanjo Samuel Oluolamide, the best graduating student of Lagos State University this year, winning a 10 million Naira cash prize from the Sunbeth Excellence Program in recognition of his outstanding performance. Now, this unique program aims to identify and celebrate exceptional students by transforming their academic brilliance into real-world impact. Fitting for Oluolamide, he studied in the Department of Aerospace Engineering, earning a first-class degree at the school's convocation ceremony on Monday. In a post on X, which has garnered almost 700,000 views, he called it a testament to his faith, adding that it was wisdom and strength that carried him along the way. Aerospace engineering is one of the most demanding disciplines in any university anywhere in the world. So congratulations to Adebanjo Oluolamide. We know you will certainly make an indelible mark on the industry from here on out. And I believe we're now going to take a story on South Africa, because later today, about 83 Nigerians are expected to touch down in Lagos on the latest repatriation flight. And it comes as the Grammy Award-winning singer, South African singer Tyla, is now also trending online for publicly stating that she's praying that she'll one day see a united Africa. Now, Tyla made these comments while accepting the AfroPure International Achievement Awards at the South African Music Awards in Sun City this weekend. And these are comments that have now become her first public statement hinting at the xenophobic attacks on Nigerians in South Africa. Let's take a look.
This moment to celebrate all African artists. Our music, our culture is so rich, and I'm so proud of everybody. I thank you guys so much that I get to stand on your shoulders and I get to be inspired by you guys every day. And I'm excited. I have a song with Babala, Mau, Liquid Deep, and I'm just so happy to be South African. I'm happy to be African most of all. And I pray one day to see a unified Africa. It's so important, and I thank you guys so much. I thank you guys.
Now, Tyla's call is coming just as the intended December 22 Lagos date disappeared from her tour schedule amid boycott pressure and a lot of backlash over a South African artist coming to perform in Nigeria. But this moment underscores how this tension really permeates into every aspect of how we as Africans relate with one another, whether in meetings, conferences, but also in music and culture. And I believe we'll now take our final story under entertainment. And it's a story from Lagos, with Nigeria's Chaos in the Ring event organized by Balmoral Promotions here in Lagos, delivering some high-stakes boxing energy. The fights took place at the Balmoral Convention Center on Sunday, and according to the founder, the fights are a way to redefine African boxing for a global audience. A major step for Nigerian combat sports, proving that local boxing can draw mainstream crowds. The next major fight will take place on October 1, and it's almost certain that scores of people will be watching. Champions, all of them. We love to see it. That's all I have for you on what's trending today. Here we have Champion again, the hit from Fireboy DML. If we can play the music, enjoy it, and I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you all for your fantastic analysis, as always. Appreciate it. There we go.
I'm a legend in the making, I'm a champion.
This edition of the Morning Show. Rotus Odiro is up next with Global Business Report. Stay with us. This is still the Arise News Channel, your favorite global.
I grew up in Imesile. We started business as LBA in 1998. 7 years later, started exporting cocoa to Europe, UK, and US. This is what we have been doing up to now. In business, see, there's always up and down in any business. The only thing we need is perseverance. One should be able to stand and know what you want. Be focused. About 4 or 5 years after starting the business, we bought some cocoa at high price with the hope of selling. But when the dollar was deregulated, there was shortfall, gap. We had some challenges, got some loans, we were working, exporting. At the end of the day, we came back into the business full. UBA Bank is very, very supportive. When you are talking of banks, you are not talking of the structures, not the building, but those people behind the veil. That is, we are talking of the leadership, the workers, very, very effective in discharging their duties. So we enjoy their performances very well.
Where are we going express? Unity route is much quicker.
BB, look, it's here.
I beg you, what do they know?
Let me call Tomiwa.
There's no signal. No signal. auntie. No glow, no go. Hi, mommy. Hey, baby.
No, well.
We're coming.
Where's Auntie Baby? This Christmas phone you gave, useless. It is not the phone, Auntie. Look, Auntie, it's a sign. When can we stop? I need snacks.
Flo says snacks is 5 minutes ahead.
Okay.
Don't look.
Now I can stream my series.
When you need fast, powerful, reliable connectivity to keep you safe, to keep you entertained, to keep you in touch, trust Glow.
No glow, no go. Let's go.
Glow Unlimited.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank digitally connected across Africa and global financial centers with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly whenever, wherever, however. A bank with smart financial solutions from a systemized blend of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Are you tired of the same old news cycle? Ready to spice things up?
Welcome to Rise 360, your ultimate backstage pass to everything entertainment, art, and culture.
From the glitz and glam of Hollywood to the hottest African stars, Rise 360 brings you closer to the action.
From music to the latest movies, we've got it all. Why scroll endlessly on your phone when we can bring the world of entertainment straight to you?
We're talking exclusive interviews, red carpet moments, and behind-the-scenes stories that will keep you buzzing.
Let's celebrate the vibrant culture and creativity that makes us proud to be Nigerian.
This is a Rise 360,
where entertainment meets lifestyle.
With a dash of spice.
Catch us every weekday at 5 p.m. on the Arise News Channel.
And now,
let's get this party started!
Welcome to Licky Licky.
You're watching Arise, the world's standout news channel. Arise News, awards, and beyond.
To Rise News, you're watching the Global Business Report. Rodo Sudiri here. We're in Lagos. Let's take a look at the headlines across the business world today. U.S. President Trump says there are no talks with Iran, and he also says the Strait of Hormuz is open. Although oil prices will differ with that. Also, in the headlines today, Unitree Robotics IPO absolutely spiking, popping in its debut in Shanghai, over 600%. We'll give you those details. We also had an interview with Unitree last year at one of the global events Arise News was covering. Also in the headlines, you've got Anthropic, its credit line, pre-IPO credit line, possibly jumping by fourfold to $10 billion. That's another big IPO that is anticipated later this year. And also another big IPO, it's IPO year. The Dangote refinery securing $1 billion in underwriting. It's the Global Business Report. Do stay tuned. Begin with pensions, with the latest figures from PenCom, the regulator of the pension industry. This is the first quarter of 2026, and total assets climbing to nearly 30 trillion naira, double-digit growth year on year, and also climbing by about 7.5% compared to the fourth quarter of last year. As far as the total retirement savings accounts, we're at 11.1 million of them, 4% growth year on year, double-digit growth quarter on quarter. And then as far as the contributions, we did see a fall in contributions, 559 billion. That figure was 900 billion in quarter four of last year. 380 billion of quarter one of last year. So year-on-year growth, but quarter-on-quarter drop. And then also got to talk about this as well, the personal pension plans, the number of plans that are out there, 219,000 of them, but only 18,000 of those 219 are funded, about 8%. So about 91% of those are not funded. So we're going to have a conversation now on the pension industry with the CEO of PENUP, Antonia Ifeanyi Okoro, who is joining us right now. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Reuters.
Great
Good to see you. Thank
Have
you.
a seat. All right. Pensions, a very, very important topic here in Nigeria, because everyone's got to have a funded retirement account. I think we'll start with the contributions, right? So, 550 odd billion for the first quarter of this year. It was about 900 in the quarter four, 300 or 80 something in quarter one. So can you talk about the slight, well, not slight, the reduction that we saw in those contributions?
Yes, I think it's good to put it into context. In last year, quarter four of last year, we saw a lot of recovery of public sector contributions, which actually spiked the total contributions figure. If you want a bit more of a stable comparison, if you look at quarter three of 2024, the figure was around 503 million. So truly, we're growing, but there was a lot of enforcement effort, a lot of engagement effort, a lot of work that was done by PenCom throughout 2025.
This is Arise News. We interrupt this program for a live event.
One of our honorary doctorate awardee, Mr. Akikokire Ekun, former pro-chancellor of this institution. Former Executive Council here present. Former Deputy Governors of Lagos State government here present. Distinguished members of the National Assembly here present. His Imperial Majesty, the Oni of Ife, Kábíyèsí Ọba Adéyẹyè Ẹnìtàn Babátúndé Ògúnwùsì Ọ̀jájá II, CFR. His Royal Majesty Ọba of Lagos, Ọba Rinwan Akiolu, who is ably represented here by the white cap chiefs. Kábíyèsí o. Lagos. Mr. Tayo Akimade Aide, the Honorable Commissioner for Tertiary Education, Lagos State, Honorable Tolani Sule, and other members of Lagos State